Of Today with Ari and James, Monday through Friday, 8A to 11A Eastern Time. Your home for all things Big 12.
And away we go on a Thursday. Happiness is a choice. Thank you for choosing us. Along with James Westlake, I'm Ari Tepkin. It's Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. We've got cranky coaches in the thick of it in a midweek February game. We'll get into the K-State loss to Cincinnati and the big win for Texas Tech over Colorado and how both Tad Boyle and Jerome Tang responded to those resounding losses. I've got pretty significant news on the football side of things and not exactly news that we're excited to report and discuss. We've got our continuing series breaking down the top 5 newcomers from the defensive line, defensive end perspective in our series continuing today. Carrie Haidider, the former Texas Tech Red Raider, a defensive end, former Dallas Cowboy defensive end, joins us later on in the show today. James, how are you? Good morning.
Well, as a Kansas State alum, I've been better, as has the Kansas State men's basketball team, but give Cincinnati a ton of credit. That was a major gut check game in terms of who's going to want it more, and Cincinnati wanted it a lot more, and they've scored 90 or more points now in back-to-back wins. A road win in Manhattan is nice on paper, as bad as K-State's been this season, and then they just beat UCF by 20+, and welcome to the Big 12 Jizzle James, who was here last year but looks like a completely different player. In his last 3 games, he is shooting the cover off the ball, went for 24 last night for the Bearcats.
Yeah, we'll hear all of what Jerome Tang had to say last night following that resounding loss. About 2 minutes of Jerome Tang being very upset with his team, and I'm sure there are a lot of K-Staters wondering, what took you so long? But I would hope that most K-State fans didn't just watch the game, but had a cold Modelo within arm's reach.
I think K-State Nation needs a lot of Modelos
within
right
arm's
now.
reach. Yeah,
within yes.
Yeah.
This is year 4 for Jerome Tang, and to be 1-10 in Big 12 play, I mean, this is a historically bad season for Kansas State in league action.
Yeah. Yesterday at the end of the show, we made the official announcement that the Big 12 was partnering with ASB Glass Floor for the Big 12 basketball tournament. We will have the director of the Americas, Chris Thornton, on coming up in about 40 minutes to talk about what this means and give us some of the specifics around ASB Glass Floor. But I mean, I don't know that. I think there was kind of a mixed reaction from those across Big 12 country. You know, and a lot of it probably stemming from imaginations running wild once Brett Yormark said that there was a big announcement coming, and then we reiterated that it was a game changer. But I think, like, it is, and I maintain that it is. In the attention economy, being different is extremely valuable. I mean, this changes the stage that the game is being played, and in 2026, that stage matters a whole heck of a lot. I also, like, innovation can always be sort of overstated at first. You know, when shot clocks were added, I think about in football, when the yellow line was added for first downs, shifts. I think this is on par with that. You know, for the Big 12 to be the first league in North America to feature this floor during actual game competition, I don't think that can be understated. It's a floor that can dynamically integrate sponsorships, alternate branding, digital graphics, broadcast enhancements. That's not just cosmetic. It's monetizable infrastructure. And in 2026, that matters a lot.
And it's going to look awesome.
Yeah, that too.
The promo from the Big 12.
It's going to be sick.
The promo from the Big 12 with all the different logos that you just saw on Big 12 Studios gave me chills and goosebumps and made me really excited for the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City. And I think the Big 12 did a fantastic job of promoting this and teasing this to the point where speculation ran wild. And so on some fronts, it was almost a sigh of relief, I think, from the fans in the Big 12, because there was talk about the Big 12 tournament moving or, you know, things different in terms of seeding or the bracket. And
when it's left open-ended, I think people's imaginations can run wild.
Exactly. And you know, Kentucky used this floor for their Midnight Madness event that they have every year. The NBA All-Star event used it for the dunk contest, and various other things, the skills competitions, but not actually the game itself. But also, and I can't wait to lean more into what this actually is and what it means with our guest from ASB Glass Floor. But it's a glass floor. Like, nobody's ever done this. It's a completely different surface. And it's a surface that's more injury friendly. It reduces strain on the body, joints, and muscles. And I can't wait to hear the science that goes into the whole thing. But also just like they'll have stats, and the sponsorships was another thing that you brought up I was thinking about this morning, and various like in-game trends that you don't get being in the arena, or sometimes you don't even get at home unless you're following along on Stat Broadcast, that could potentially be right there on the floor, along the baseline, along the sidelines. It's going to be really interesting to see how the Big 12 integrates this floor and all the different things that you can do with it.
Yeah, no, exactly right. I mean, I can't wait to see what it looks like. It's going to really pop, and I think, from a national audience perspective, like the basketball obviously is going to supersede anything, but I would imagine this is going to draw in a much larger audience just to see what it looks like and how it's integrated.
Very much so. And like I'm imagining teams are lining up at the foul line. There's not going to be stats and running graphics while the ball is in play. But let's say two teams are lining up at the foul line. Like, they have the capabilities to be flashing stats, a headshot, the player's bio, his line, all of that stuff at midcourt or on the other end of the floor. So the fans that are there are going to feel more connected to that particular game than ever before.
Well said. And I also think, like, imagine, during the starting lineups when a face for the player appears on the floor, and, you want to play in the best league. So lots of players want to play in the Big 12 anyways, but I mean, with these enhancements, that only, I would imagine, ups the ante. I mean, if kids select Oregon because they have cool jerseys, like, don't you think this will matter in that too, in terms of, roster, procurement?
Yes. I mean, it may not swing a recruit directly. I don't know that it has that impact. But yes, to your point of flashy uniforms, swag, new cutting-edge, forward-thinking tech stuff, Gen Z is all about, and this fits that bill. And I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's actually being underplayed right now how cool it's actually going to be once people see it on the floor.
Yeah, I think you're exactly
Kansas
right.
City.
Like, the reaction I think people will have will be totally different.
I also think a lot of people don't really understand what it is. Like, trying to explain this to your parents, right? Like, a glass floor? Like, what is that?
Right.
And
No,
the Big
totally.
12 teasing the logos, that's just kind of a snippet of what it's actually going to look like. Like, it's hard to wrap your mind around how innovative this is, and we'll shed more light on that later on during the show when we chat with the people who made the product and why and how and what goes into it. And, again, reducing joint strain, enhancing performance, all of those things, that's really fascinating to me. You know what? Is this the future? It very well could be, if all those things are true.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about it. It is the future. And I mean, it's an investment from the standpoint of, the monetization opportunities that exist. And look, the Big 12, just as a brand, I think now is more clearly defined than it's ever been before. I mean, I think we have our own sense inside the Big 12, or as fans of Big 12 schools, what that means and what that looks like from a branding perspective. But ultimately, I think just nationally, Brett Yormark and Tyrell Kirkham, Chief Marketing Officer of the Big 12, have done a really good job to brand the Big 12 in a way that is very identifiable, and that is innovative. That is at the cutting edge. And whether you like it or not, or whether you think it's kitschy or whatever, that is very much front and center with this conference that really, for a long time, didn't have sort of a national brand like it does today. This fits the brand of the Big 12. Like, if nobody's done it, then the Big 12 is going to do it. And I don't know that you can really undersell the importance of that in the national landscape.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a calculated risk, and the Big 12 is new. The Big 12 is flashy. The Big 12 is the Apple iPhone to BlackBerry. It is Netflix to Blockbuster. Like, the Big 12 is taking a chance on some different things And so far, I mean, they've hit in so many ways. When you talk about like the partnership with WWE and the Venmo, PayPal sponsorship and deal there where, players are paid through their Venmo debit card and fans can purchase them. And now this court. And we were first to the table in terms of discussing private equity or private capital. There are so many things that the Big 12 seems to be ahead of the others on and willing to take those risks to make this a flashy, fun league to be a part of. The Disruptor League is what it is.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, James Westling, Ari Temkin, let's talk about what happened last night in basketball, because there were two majorly lopsided games and both came out with equal reactions for the losing head coach. Let's start with Jerome Tang. Cincinnati goes to Manhattan and beats the absolute tar out of K-State. 91-62. This thing was over very quickly. It was 53-31 at halftime. Baba Miller exploded in this game, 16 points, added 12 rebounds and 4 blocks. But what I want to focus on is what Jerome Tang said following this loss.
Honored Christ, like I always do. Blessed to do this. But this was embarrassing. These dudes do not deserve to wear this uniform. There will be very few of them in it next year. I'm embarrassed for the university. I'm embarrassed for our fans, our student section. It is just ridiculous. We got practice at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, and we will get this thing right. I have no answer, no words. So y'all got 2 questions. So whoever want to ask 2 questions, I'll answer them to the best of my ability right now. But right now, I'm pissed, and this is all right. Questions.
I guess it's just kind of cousin puzzling if you look at your road and home splits. The last 4 road games have been down the wire. When you run off the court, just kind of explain that.
Yeah, I don't know. I asked the staff this week that same question, and they said that more the opponents. You play. I don't know, because I followed Minnesota last year closely, and they played great on the road and struggled at home. So then they started staying in hotels at home, treating it like a road game. And so I even talked about, hey, do we need to change that change? But no, none of that crap matter, man. These dudes got to have some. They got some pride, man. They got some pride. It means something to wear a K-State uniform. It means something to put on this purple, man. Our everything this university is about and all that it's been about, why I love this place, man. They don't love this place, so they don't deserve to be here.
Just what did you make of the student section with paper bags on their heads?
Yeah, I'd wear a paper bag too if I was them. Thanks a lot, fellas. God bless.
All right, so there's Jerome Tang basically talking for 2 minutes. James, I want to get your thoughts on this, but ultimately my takeaway is, why does this come on February 12th? Where is this frustration? Where is this desperation? Where is, we're going to be practicing at 6 a.m. tomorrow. Okay, it's February 12th, dude.
Yeah.
What? Where was this in November?
Yep. One word came to mind, all caps, finally.
Yeah.
And I think that's how the K-State fan base has felt now for a couple of months. And Jerome Tang, it's a total pivot from the last time he took the podium after a game, because last time it was, man, these guys are going through a lot off the floor. They had a shoot-around before the TCU game that was an optional shoot-around because they had some players that were battling head colds and the flu, so they made it optional. 2 players showed up for that shoot-around. Then you have an assistant coach who gets arrested midweek. You have a player that this kind of went under the radar that's no longer on the team that was also arrested, but not sure if he's been charged with anything yet. That there's just been a plethora of things for K-State that has snowballed all season, and they're off to their worst start in Big 12 play since Bruce Weber's last year, which was 2021. They started 0-13 that year in Big 12 play. But that team was all freshmen. They had 3 freshmen in their starting lineup, and that team fought their tails off and won 3 of their last 4 in the regular season. The biggest thing about K-State this year is the lack of heart and effort, and K-State fans have seen that on a game-by-game basis, where defensively it just doesn't look like they care in any way, shape, or form. And it was magnified late in the game against Cincinnati last night. The score is 63-37. Cincinnati's boat racing K-State. There's like 9 minutes to go. And a Cincinnati player's at the foul line. And it's the back end of a 2-shot foul. And he misses off the back of the rim. Kansas State just stands there and watches the basketball. He collects his own miss and jams it to make it 65-37.
Like something the Harlem Globetrotters would do.
A simple box out, a routine box out that you've been taught since the 2nd grade to box out the shooter. And K-State didn't box out the shooter. They didn't box out anybody. And it's not like they just weren't aware of the free throw situation where maybe it's a 1-and-1. Like, they knew it's the back end of a 2-shot foul. The ball's coming off the rim, and there's no effort.
Yeah.
And I think that's what is the most disappointing and frustrating part.
Yeah, no, it's got to be. And I'd imagine, again, like, finally to hear Jerome Tang this open and honest and sort of echoing, I think, the sentiment from K-State fans. But at the same time, it's like, oh, okay, you're going to practice at 6 a.m. tomorrow? Like, where has this been all year?
Yeah.
Here's what John Rothstein said of CBS Sports during halftime of this game.
Pride for Kansas State. Cincinnati's not an NCAA tournament team. They are putting up video game-like offensive efficiency right now. This is about pride. Kansas State's program is straddling a fence entering the next 20 minutes. They're either going to turn their season around or they're going to continue to move forward like we saw in the first half, and that's not being competitive.
Not being competitive.
Yeah. Where's the pride? I mean, Cincinnati, we've talked all year, they struggle offensively. They put on an offensive clinic against
They hit
K-State.
16 threes last night. They went 16 of 28. For the game, they shot over 50% from the floor. They've scored over 90 points in back-to-back games. Like, that is a team that is battling for Wes Miller. Jizzle James, who wasn't part of this team, he was reinstated like mid-November, is playing like he wants to wear a Cincinnati uniform. There's nobody on Kansas State that's doing that. P.J. Haggerty is a guy that wants to fill up the stat sheet, and he did. He had 24 last night, 24 of K-State's 62. I was just looking at the stats this morning. He has attempted twice as many shots as anybody else on K-State's roster.
Wow.
The guy's taken almost 500
Wow.
shots this season. Twice as many.
That is
Twice as many.
insane. And again, like with Tang, it's like it's great to hear, but, you're trying to teach this team about being prideful to be on this team. Like, that's on you, man. Mm-hmm. That's on you.
And the guys that want to be there, a guy like Taj Manning, who played 30 minutes last night, a new career high, because he wants to be there. Well, he's a guy that talent-wise, and he's undersized and plays the 4. He plays his tail off. But he's a guy that, on Jerome Tang's Elite 8 team, would have been the 9th or 10th dude, right?
Yeah.
In fact, Jerome Tang actually suggested to Taj Manning a couple of seasons ago that you might want to transfer out if you're going to be a guy that is playing starter minutes. And Taj said, I'm going to stick it out. Jerome said, okay, and here he is in the starting lineup almost by default. And that's not a knock on his ability.
It's just where they are as a program.
Exactly. And K-State recruited Baba Miller really hard this offseason, and he chose Cincinnati over K-State and a handful of schools. He had the best plus-minus on the floor last night. Plus 27, he dominated the paint against that undersized K-State team.
Meanwhile, Texas Tech and Lubbock beat Colorado 78-44. Here's what Tad Boyle said, Colorado's coach, following this loss.
Yeah, that was just a good old-fashioned from West Texas. You probably know what that is, and we took one tonight. So credit Texas Tech. They have a motto with their program that the toughest team wins, and there wasn't even question who the tougher team was tonight, and that was Texas Tech, and we weren't. And so I'm embarrassed by our performance. I'm embarrassed for our university. I'm embarrassed for the city of Boulder. I'm embarrassed for the state of Colorado. I'm embarrassed for every former player that's worn this uniform. And we got to own this. But when you give up 17 offensive rebounds and then the biggest part of the game plan is taking away their threes from their shooters, and they make 12 threes. And then we foul them on another one with 0.3 seconds to go into the first half. It's just not good enough in any way, shape, or form. I started my career as the head coach at Northern Colorado in the Big Sky, and we would travel to Bozeman, Montana, and Missoula, and Utah, Pocatello, Idaho, and we would always fly commercial. And you'd lose on the road, and you'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You'd catch a 6 a.m. flight back to Denver, and then drive an hour to Greeley, and that's what we deserve right now. We deserve to be on a 6 a.m. flight out of Lubbock, commercial, Southwest, whatever airline you choose. We don't deserve a charter plane back to Boulder tonight. We got one. We paid for it. But we wasted our money. We wasted our university's money, and that's on me. So I'll take the ownership of this because I'm the head coach, and the buck stops with me. But I'm embarrassed. I've not said I've embarrassed very often. Pat, you've followed us a long time, but I'm embarrassed tonight.
All right, so 2 cities, 2 coaches, 2 different outcomes, similar post-game comments, and I think part of this is just this is life in the Big 12. It can be very, very humbling, and this is just mid-game weeks in February where you're kind of towards the end of the season and getting frustrated with some of the outcomes of these games. It's not a coincidence here that we hear similar comments from Jerome Tang and Tad Boyle in losses. Well,
and I think the thing that makes Colorado so unique, their effort last night or lack thereof, is that you typically don't see that from Tad Boyle teams.
Right.
And I've been saying that Colorado's a year away. They're 4-8 in Big 12 play. They're 14-11 overall. That's still a massive uptick from last year to this year, and all those freshmen are now sophomores, and next year they'll be juniors. But Tad Boyle's teams typically don't get dominated on the glass like this. They don't allow the opponent to hit 12 threes and shoot 40% from beyond the arc. They gave up, I think, 20-some offensive rebounds last night. Those are the
Toppin had 16 and 18.
He was a freak last night, 4 offensive rebounds. The other thing for Texas Tech, Luke Bamboye, welcome to the Big 12. He played 18 minutes.
Huge.
He had 7 points. He had 2 offensive rebounds, and he had 4 blocks. Remember, he led the nation in blocks per minutes played last year at VCU. That is his one thing. Getting 7 points is a bonus. Getting 2 or 3 offensive rebounds is a bonus. He is a rim protector, and he adds a whole nother wrinkle to Texas Tech that I think makes them incredibly dangerous in the NCAA tournament.
That's James Westling. I'm Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo. We've got Chris Thornton, the Director of the Americas for ASB Glass Floors, coming up in about 15 minutes. On the way next, though, one of the biggest stories in college football, and certainly a story that will impact the Big 12 into 2026. We get into that next. It's Big 12 Today with James Amari. Big 12 Radio presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios.
Several players fighting the flu, but they are here. They are ready to roll as Cincinnati gets the tip in your official this evening. Brett Smith, Tyler Kump, and Lee Castle. He's the second leading scorer in the country at 23.3 points per game. Miller coughs it up. Kansas State out ahead. Haggerty slows it down and gets the leg. There's Miller in the high post operating against Manning. Cut off on the baseline. James, his 3, no good. Miller rips down the offensive rebound. Celestine, he wants another triple. It's good.
It's very obvious to say now that you can't assume that percentages are going to go down. Cincinnati's hot, and they're going to stay hot.
Castillo able to match with a much-needed triple for Kansas State. Joining the conference, Josh, great stuff there. Haggerty to get the second half started for Kansas State, and they get 2.
The arm extended at the very end is what got that offensive foul.
James left all alone, splashes a 3, and a bit of a miscommunication by Kansas State.
10th made free for Cincinnati.
And Castillo's going to chuck that to the open floor. James scoops it up. Oh, a pair of high-flying cards for Cincinnati. Tend to some personal matters, and he's such a key piece of this team. We saw him last year on the road. They picked up a big win against UCF, and he went off.
Oh, I love it.
What a dive behind the back. Zella from Cincinnati as they pick up their first road win of the year. They improved to 5-7 in the Big 12 and have now put back-to-back impressive offensive performances together.
Big 12 Radio. In about 15 minutes, we're going to visit with Chris Thornton, the director of the Americas for ASB Glass Floor, about this innovation for the Big 12 and the Big 12 tournament coming up in a month. Along with James Wesley, Amari Tepkin, it's Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo. The game of the week this week, Saturday, Kansas at Iowa State from Hilton Coliseum. This Saturday at noon Central, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. You can catch the game of the week as a part of TuneIn, Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. Make sure to download the TuneIn app if you have not yet already, and favorite the Big 12 Radio channel. That way it shows up each and every time you open up the app. And if you do, you can get the game of the week this week, Kansas, Iowa State. Get the call from Hilton Coliseum from John Walters, the voice of the Iowa State Cyclones, this Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern, 12 o'clock Central Time. All right, last night, some pretty significant Big 12 news broke, and that is that all Big 12 wide receiver Parker Kingston, who is going into his senior season at BYU, 2 straight years of being leading receiver at BYU. Well, he was arrested on a Wednesday in Washington County, Utah, and charged with first-degree felony rape in connection with an alleged incident that occurred February of 2025 in St. George, Utah. The charge follows a year-long investigation by the St. George Police Department, which included the collection and review of forensic evidence, digital evidence, and witness interviews before the case was presented to the Washington County Attorney's Office for charging review. Parker Kingston is currently being held without bail in Washington County, in a Washington County court. First-degree felony sexual assault being held without bail, James.
I'm absolutely stunned, floored, shocked by this news. Parker Kingston was just on the Jumbotron at BYU's last home men's basketball game with his fiancée, publicly announcing their engagement.
Yeah, flashed a ring courtside at the BYU Houston game.
And this stems from an incident that was almost a year ago to the week, February 23rd, 2025, and it has been a deep dive investigation. The timeline, prosecutors describe an investigation that involves digital and forensic evidence, interviews with and by St. George police. The case then got pushed ahead to the Washington County Attorney's Office. This has been a deep dive investigation that has been a year long. And there's a lot to unpack. Number one, the fact that the woman went to a hospital, reported the assault to officers there immediately. Like, this is bad. And the other side of it is BYU was aware of this, and Parker Kingston played the entire season. Now, he hadn't been arrested, he hadn't been charged, but they knew that the investigation was taking place. In terms of his future, it doesn't look good. I mean, being held without bail, Jake Retzloff, it was pretty well known that once his allegations surfaced that he wouldn't be back.
Well, and it's important to note that was not a criminal charge either. He was being sued in civil court.
It was a civil case, right? I mean, this is another really bad thing happening in Provo. And in terms of like Parker Kingston on the field, he is electrifying, right? He is their big play wide receiver. He's the fastest guy on the team. This is a tremendous loss at that position for BYU because I don't see any way that he's playing this season.
Yeah, no, he's not. I mean, at a minimum, this is an honor code violation, right? At a minimum. He'll never wear a BYU uniform again. There are very few sexual assaults that actually end up in a charge, and because there's lots of reasons for it. So for it to proceed this far says a lot about the nature of the charge. And, you pray for this victim, this alleged victim and her family, and it's just never anything you want to hear about, whether it's an athlete or otherwise.
This is not something that was swept under the rug. Like, I tip my hat to the St. George, police department for investigating this at length. I mean, taking a year to unpack this case, and BYU says that they take the allegations seriously and they're going to cooperate with law enforcement, and they cite privacy laws as the reason for limited commentary at this time. But I mean, the digital evidence, the forensic evidence, like it's tough to talk about this stuff because number one, it's sad and just rips your heart out that anything like this took place. And then secondly, Parker Kingston was beloved by the BYU community, and to be the guy that was on the Jumbotron courtside at the basketball game with his fiance flashing that ring to this. I mean, polar opposite ends of the spectrum. Again, I'm just completely stunned.
Less than a week ago. Not even a week ago. Yeah, it is absolutely stunning. And certainly impacts, the football field, but it seems trite to even mention that in conjunction with this. That's James Westling. I'm Ari Tepkin. A lot to get to on the football side of things, including our continuing Names to Know series, impactful Big 12 defensive line, defensive end transfers. I don't know about you, but many of the players that I have on that list are at one school, and one school that probably sorely needed to replace a lot of production along the defensive line, so we'll get to that coming up. Plus, Carrie Haidider, the former Texas Tech defensive end, former Cowboys and Lions defensive end, joins us to talk through the defensive line, defensive end positions. On the way next, though, let's talk with Chris Thornton, who is the Director of the Americas for ASB Glass Floors. He joins us next to break down exactly what this means for the Big 12, you know, what sort of benefits the ASB Glass Floor has from a basketball perspective, and everything else we need to know about this. That's next. With James Wesley, Amari Tepkin, it's Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios.
And we are underway in Lubbock. That tip into the backcourt controlled by Colorado.
They just lost, talking about the Arizona Wildcats in Lawrence. So don't you know they'll be in a great mood come Monday or Saturday, and Donovan Atwell stays.
Christian Anderson probing, looked inside to JT Toppin, who shook him off and did not want the basketball at that point. Knocked away from Watts. Johnson out front. Anderson there defending. And Isaiah Johnson scores for the Buffaloes. Donovan Atwell, three on the way is good. Donovan Atwell from up top.
You see Bamboye right there. He alters it. It doesn't count as a block, but he's got McKaylee thinking about it.
Oh, Christian Anderson looked at Toppin, but the no-look pass inside to Bamboye.
Threw a little hiccup at you, and you didn't handle it well. It equals a transition three.
So this is what will happen if you do that. Donovan Atwell makes you pay. Bamboye in the ball game for the Red Raiders. Christian Anderson in the corner. Three is good. Christian Anderson's got 13 in the ball game. Knocked it off of Inman over there. Now Christian Anderson lost it. Isaiah Johnson's got Jalen Petty in front of him, and Bamboye following.
You're still in the midst of the conference race. You're 2 games back of Arizona and Houston. Yeah, Donovan Atwell again. Hold it up.
We'll have to wait for another day.
But hey, Big 12 wins are hard to get, and the Red Raiders made this one look easy.
Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. We are presented by Modelo. And, of course, yesterday the big announcement came down that the Big 12 was partnering with ASB Glass Floor for the Big 12 tournament. First time in North American history that this court will be used during actual competition. And joining us now to talk about it is the Director of the Americas for ASB Glass Floor, Chris Thornton. Chris, how are you?
I'm good, Ari. Good morning.
Morning. Appreciate your time. All right, so what's the elevator pitch here, Chris? For those that are uninitiated, give us a sense of you're talking with friends or family and they're asking, what is this ASB Glass Floor? What's the elevator pitch?
It's funny. We've been working on this product for the past 15 years or so. It's the newest innovation in sports, and it touches on a couple of things in sports: the athletes, the coaches, the fans, and the marketing sponsorship. It's a surface that's made of glass. It's got a spring action metal system underneath it. And within that metal system, we've got LEDs that are embedded. And it provides a surface for the athletes that's a little bit more elastic and more comfortable to play on. It's lighter on their ankles. It's lighter on their knees. It's a more consistent grip. So from the athlete's standpoint, it's just a more comfortable floor compared to the old wood. From a coaching standpoint, they have a digital whiteboard. They can do integration of their playbooks and walk through their plays and their X's and O's on the court, rather than on in the media room or on an iPad. Everything is now, they can walk through the plays on the court. A fan experience, it goes without saying, right? We're going to put on a great show at the championship, but the multimedia and the digital interactions that you can do on the court are endless. And from a sponsorship standpoint, it's no longer just a logo that's painted on a court. They can do full-on immersive activations on the court.
So with the coaching note, and you answered a lot of my initial questions. With the coaching stuff, are you talking like during a shoot-around, coaches can actually draw on the floor and dissect plays that way? Or are you talking like during timeouts on the bench, coaches can point right down to the court and draw that way, almost like a telestrator, right?
Right. Well, both can be had right now. Yes, this could be in a timeout. Now, a coach may not want to show off their plays on a timeout on the floor, but in the practice facilities, and we already are being installed in a couple of practice facilities at the NBA level. You can draw up your plays, your typical whiteboard. You can draw where the X and O's need to be. You can do video from the night before in the game, and you can do that on the court, and you can walk through certain plays. And again, you can do, if you're a more offensive-minded coach, you can put your plays on the court. And instead of the players sitting in that media room for an hour and a half watching a screen, they're actually walking through those plays.
Got it. What's been the feedback from players that have played on it? I mean, you mentioned the spring action. I guess from a science medical standpoint, what are the benefits of it, and what is the feedback you've received from players?
So I'm the fortunate one that is here every single time an NBA team comes through Orlando to play the Magic. They practice at our athletes lab in Orlando. I speak to the coaches directly. I speak to the players directly. I speak to general managers directly. We have a super high A+ rating from the players, and they like the grip. They like the comfort of it. They like the way the ball bounces, and a lot of times it bounces. A lot of the players will say it bounces the exact same way as the court, but it's a more comfortable court to play on. Other players will say, I love the grip. Other players will say, I like the when I'm landing on it, it's lighter on my knees, lighter on my ankles. We've had some of the top players in the NBA through here. And from the old school coaches to the younger guys who are coming up in the league, I think everybody likes the grip. They like the feel of the court. And in addition to that, they love the interaction of the court. You have players designing their own courts after practice. You have players signing the court, getting a little social media moment. So it adds a whole new element of intrigue for the players. But it's also, when they hear the benefits on their bodies and that it's a lighter impact on their bodies, they're definitely more invested in it.
Man, this is so awesome. What can you tell us about like in-game data and visuals? I know that there can be real-time stats on the floor and shot charts, and you mentioned the sponsorship stuff. So for fans that are going to be in Kansas City or watching at home, will there be that during the Big 12 tournaments, or will that be kind of between games? How will that work?
Probably a little bit of everything. We're still working on the programming. We'll be working on that for the next couple of weeks into the run up to the championships. I don't think you will see any action during the actual game time, right? But, after the whistles, we're going to introduce some stats. You'll see some court takeovers from some sponsors. But in game, right, when the play is going on, we don't want the court to change up at all. But we're still working on that, and it's going to be a really good show for the fans. The players are going to like it because now they're gonna have a whole new element that is going to highlight them. For example, a player intro, as an example, a timeout, potentially if there's a slam dunk, potentially the aprons are going to activate, but nothing in the lines during the gameplay.
Why is this a big deal?
It's a big deal because ASB Glass Floor has been tested so much over the last 5 years. We're already approved by FIBA. The NBA engineering team has approved us. We are already a competition floor in the EuroLeague in 2 arenas. We are installed in Panathinaikos in Athens full-time. We're also installed in Munich, Germany at BMW Park for FC Bayern. It's already proven ground. It's now time for the U.S. and the elite levels of basketball to take that next step. The Big 12 is such a great partner. They want to be the first movers, and we needed somebody with the leadership of Brett to kind of take this and take the flag and lead us. But we're already proven in every other market, and it was just time. It was just a matter of timing for who was going to be the first in the U.S. to do this.
Where did this idea originate from? Like, what's the backstory?
So ASB has been around since the 60s. It stands for Aluminum System Bow. And they've been engineering and working with aluminum and glass since the 60s. They created the first glass squash courts where they're completely cubed in. So they've been working in the sports industry for a long time. They've introduced glass as a playing surface for walls. They started playing around with it in the flooring in the mid-2000s. And at the time, it was just an LED line. It wasn't a full LED underneath the glass. But as technology advanced and as more research and development was made, we figured out a way to put complete LED, 100% coverage underneath the floor. So now you can change from a basketball court to a volleyball court to a pickleball court to tennis. It could be anything. We're putting school lessons on the floor. It could be a history lesson. It could be a solar system. You have endless potential to do things on the court as a floor. And the one thing that's important to note is that LED floors are nothing new, but an athletic LED floor where you can put your million and billion-dollar athletes on the floor safely is new. And ASB has figured the best technology out to do this, to keep the athletes safe. And at the end of the day, this was originally engineered for the athletic safety standards. It wasn't engineered and built for the marketing purposes. That just came about because sports has innovated and changed. But it was engineered originally to be a surface that allowed gymnasiums to change from a basketball court to a volleyball court. It had zero entertainment value in it. So it's engineered for the elite athletes of the world, and it's been used for many, many years in Europe safely. And the response from the athletes now is highly positive.
Chris, when I hear glass, I have a very specific thought in my mind, and obviously glass can be more of a broad material. What exactly are we talking about here? Is it a plexiglass? Obviously, yes. I'm not totally familiar with all these materials. So talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old.
Right. It's 2 pieces of safety glass that are fused together. And the top surface of the glass has a ceramic coating on it. And in that ceramic coating are millions of dots that are burnt in, that are raised ever so slightly. So if you rub your hand against the glass, it's going to feel a little grainy. And that provides the grip that we need for the players. Wow. It sounds just like a hardwood court. It has that same squeak as a basketball court. The glass, when it's laid down on the surface of the LEDs, is more elastic. So when you add the metalwork underneath, it just has a more comfortable feel for the players. And then when they're landing, and as I mentioned earlier, when they're landing, it's got a softer impact on their knees and their ankles. If a water drop gets on it, a sweat drop, somebody spills a drink, you see that water much more clearly on the glass because the light reflects from underneath the glass. It highlights any of the sweat marks. So the mop guys and the towel guys know exactly where to dry all of the sweat marks on the glass. But beyond that, if a sweat mark hits the glass and a player hits that sweat mark, we are 450% more grippy on glass compared to that same spot on a piece of wood.
Wow.
So there's just many more benefits that the glass provides to the athletes, from the safety, from the watermarks, from even if they dive on the floor and they're rubbing against it, right? They get those strawberries that they get those marks on the wood court. Those little dots raise their skin off of the flat surface so they don't get those burn marks that you would on a wood floor.
Wow, this is amazing. With some of the player feedback, you mentioned softer landings. It's better on joints and muscles. Does the ball bounce differently on this court, or does it feel exactly the same?
The ball bounces the exact same. So we've done those tests where you're dropping a ball and it's bouncing on the wood court, you're bouncing it on the glass floor. It rebounds the exact same way. Now, players are particular. You will get a guy that says, hey, it bounces differently. You're going to get a guy that says it bounces the same. You're going to get a guy that says, hey, it feels more grippy. You're going to get a guy that says, hey, it feels more slippery. So you do get those ones, but they basically just negate each other out. But the ball, be it science and all the testing that we have done, it bounces the exact same way. And there's one other thing I'd probably point out is we have been tested by so many people, by the engineers, by the NBA, by the NCAA, by teams coming in here and playing and having full practices on our court. I don't think the wood floors have been tested as much as we have been tested, right? For 100 years, basketball has been played on wood. It's because it was the only product they had 100 years ago to play on. And there hasn't been any innovation in wood floors other than maybe the paint or the lacquer. And I think there's always going to be a place for wood courts in sports moving forward. But there hasn't been another surface that has introduced in basketball. So I understand the feeling, and especially when you're introducing glass, it's like, how can that possibly work? But the consistencies of the glass and the way we've engineered the glass floor, and again, ASB has been working with glass since the 60s. It's just a better surface on so many levels, like I said earlier, from the players to the coaches to the fan experience and to the marketers.
Now, how in the world do you install this thing in Kansas City?
It's going to install very similar to the way a wood court is. We ship the floor in. They come on large pallets. You take each panel off the pallet. You place it down. You plug in the wires. And you do that for the entire floor. The final piece is that we put on the glass surface. So it's the whole panel, it looks just like a wood floor. We're 6 inches thick, where a wood floor is 3 inches. So we're just slightly taller than a wood floor. But it can install on top of a slab. It can install on top of ice, for the multi-sport arenas. Put the panels down, plug them in, you put the glass down, and you're good to go.
Is this the future of basketball?
We think so. We've got a lot of interest. We've spoken to a lot of athletic directors. We've spoken to a lot of conferences. We are obviously partners with the NBA. The NBA is a minority shareholder of ASB Glass Floor. For the past year and a half, we have been getting as many of the elite players in basketball on ASB Glass Floor. We've had over 1,000 NBA players on the floor here in Orlando. We've had many of the Big 12 schools already practice on it. When they come to play UCF, they stop here. We've had many local high schools here in Orlando on the floor. We love, and we have a wood court here in our facility as well. So you can do a side-by-side comparison of the glass floor to the wood floor. And 90% of those players come out of here with their jaws dropped and like, wow, I can't believe what I just experienced. This was awesome. And 90% of the practices by the elite coaches of the NBA are had on ASB Glass Floor. They're not going over to the wood court.
Wow. Can't wait to see it in action. Chris Thornton, Director of the Americas for ASB Glass Floor. Thanks so much for your time this morning, and this was really instructive. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Can't wait to see you in March, and greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, we're pumped. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Chris Thornton, Director of the Americas for ASB Glass Floor. It's the first time in North America that this floor is being used in real competition. He mentioned, in Europe, there are multiple European leagues that use this floor for competition, but this is the first time for it to be used in a North American setting, which obviously is the place for the highest level of competition in basketball.
This is going to be so cool. And huge takeaway I had is that the NBA is a minority shareholder, stakeholder in the company. So the NBA obviously believes in this product. Over 1,000 players and coaches have stepped on this floor at their practice facility in Orlando. Hundreds of college basketball players have already. So there is a sample size. Like this isn't a guinea pig situation by any means for the Big 12. There is very much a lot of hard evidence that this is a better floor. And everything he's talking about, less slippage on wet spots and the way the ball bounces, that kind of doubles down on it's a safer surface that should have a better impact on the game. And just a lot of really, really cool takeaways there from that conversation.
Yeah, really cool. Cannot wait to see it. All right, on the way next, let's get it on. Who wins the Big 12, Arizona or Houston? Who's more important to the success of KU, Flory Bidunga or Melvin Council? All of that on the way next is in Let's Get It On with James Amari. It's Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios.
Peterson as well. He's been with Utah for quite some time now, leading the charge as Arizona State takes the tip at the basketball to start the game. Gabby Elliott, a fantastic game up at Baylor, will try the teardrop offensive rebound for Kai Harris. She lays it in. Set things. It's up her dribble.
That was a weave into a nice backdoor special for Gabby Elliott. Utah did a great job taking that away, but I don't know. People cannot take Levette's left-handed drive away.
Point game, Utah can get it back to a one-possession game and a good backdoor cut and finish from Reese Ross.
Argument for more power conference teams being in the tournament this year.
And that's on display with how many opportunities each of these teams have down the stretch as Elliott is off to Wilkie. Tries to find White for three, and it's good.
That was beautifully executed.
We'll look for the sweep on Saturday. If you're not on the bus to Tucson, tune in on ESPN Plus. A big-time three from Wilkie. The Elliott, been fantastic. Turnaround, jumper's good. Wilkie has hit a couple good threes. Looking for one here. It's on line, but way too strong. Long fight for the rebound. It's Brackens trying to find the 10. Lays it in. Wide open was Evans. Pop for Jelmstad, and that's off the mark. Michaela Moore on the stat sheet with the rebound, and Arizona State
Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn, watched in Big 12 Studios with James Westling. I am Ari Temkin, and want to remind you that the Big 12 Wrestling Championship is back at the BOK Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The 2026 Big 12 Wrestling Championship, presented by Allstate, returns Friday, March 6th and Saturday, March 7th in the heart of downtown Tulsa. Tickets and premium hospitality are available now at bokcenter.com/events. Big 12 Wrestling at the BOK Center in Tulsa, March 6th and 7th. Wrestling's heating up. Iowa State, Oklahoma State. Mizzou's been very good. I don't know if you know this. Mizzou's in Big 12 Wrestling.
How do we feel about that?
Not great.
Spoken like a true Jayhawk alum.
But since Kansas does not have wrestling, I guess it's
right. Fine. They're all going to Missouri. Missouri is Kansas light.
They're all going to Iowa State or Oklahoma State if they're the best. Oklahoma's also the Big 12 in wrestling too, by the way, because the SEC doesn't have wrestling because the SEC doesn't want that heat. They don't want that heat.
Can't handle the heat. Get out of the kitchen.
That's right.
Don't forget about Florida lacrosse.
Don't forget about Florida lacrosse.
Florida lacrosse.
Who forgot about Florida lacrosse?
Dominant perennial power in the Big 12.
Women's lacrosse is underway. Let's go.
Used to be in the American, now in the Big 12.
That's right.
Yeah, you get into these Olympic sports, there are some one-offs that are really just, you're like, who?
Yeah.
The Big 12?
Yeah. Check out Across the Conference. It's a weekly show that I host on Big 12 Studios along with Sydney Staples. It's really fun and documents all of that stuff.
Really fun? Wow. Guys just having the time of your life? So jealous of Sid.
It is.
To hang out even more with this
I
guy
wish I
on
could
air.
tell you.
You guys are having so much fun. He's like, I got to go to work with James again today.
It's true, yeah. No, I mean, I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but I've never had more fun hosting a show with anybody.
Wait. That feels really good.
No, I mean, like, nothing. It's not personal. It's just,
Sid's just way more fun than me. I get it.
No,
That's
yeah.
fine.
Way more fun.
Mm-hmm.
Just like,
She probably makes fun of you a little bit less.
It's like hosting a show with you, only with more fun.
Right. Got it.
It's just like the same thing.
Ramp it up.
Just
exactly the same. She's just funnier, more likable.
Yeah.
More charismatic. More fun. I get it.
No, yeah.
Does an awesome job on social media. I've seen it.
She's not old, fat, or stupid, James.
Just a couple of nitwits.
That's just never going to go away.
A couple of nitwits talking sports.
That's right. A couple of nitwits talking sports that are both old, fat, and stupid.
That's us.
Some of that's true.
Hey, did you see that little snippet that was on social media the other day about Nebraska? Apparently tried to get in the Big 12. This wasn't under Yormark. This was Yormark. This was under Bowlesby. Like 2020, 2021?
No.
Okay, well, somebody wrote a book at Nebraska that used to work in the athletic department, and there were 4 or 5 pages that were floating around on Twitter about how Nebraska was making a move to get back in the Big 12, but it never really got to the table internally at Nebraska. Just thought it was fascinating that maybe things aren't so bad over here after all.
Yeah, interesting. So basically, they were like, "Hey, we made a huge mistake. We want to get back in," and then the brass in Nebraska was like, "We're all set."
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
pretty much. Somebody in the athletic department who was high up, who's retired now, wrote a book, and at some point in the book, and to be honest, I didn't read all 5 pages clearly, but there was some chatter about, hey, we're not winning any games in the Big Ten. It's pretty hard over here. Big 12 was more family-oriented.
Remember the days when we used to win a lot of football games? Those were fun. We should go back to doing that.
Tommy Frazier's not walking through that door.
All right, Big 12 Today, Big 12 Radio. Every week we do a segment a la Mills Lane called Let's Get It On. Let's Get It On! And it's where our producer, T-Chains, Tamer Turner, introduces a topic, and we take either side of the argument. So without further ado, let's get it on.
All right, guys. To start it off, Arizona and Houston. Let's just flat out ask the question. Who's going to win the Big 12? Arizona or Houston?
I'll let you go first.
Houston is going to win the Big 12. You look at the upcoming schedule, they're comparable for both teams, all right? Houston has some tough road games at Iowa State and at Kansas. Arizona's got some brutal road games, including at Houston. They play in a couple of weeks at the Fertitta Center. It's going to be a huge game. Arizona at Houston. I believe that will determine who wins the Big 12 regular season title. I think both teams will suffer one more loss. If that is the case, Because remember, Houston plays at Iowa State and at Kansas still. But it comes down to that one game that I think is the tiebreaker. Last I checked, Kelvin Sampson doesn't not win Big 12 regular season titles. I'm going all in on Houston. They've got Kansas State on Saturday, a game that yours truly will be calling for NBC.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So I'm surprised you went on the Houston side.
Are you?
Yeah, because I figured you would have, you're the front runner. You're the guy that would go with Arizona.
I did have Arizona number 1 in my weekly power rankings.
Right.
But when I look at the remaining schedule, I'm like Joe Lenardi. It's not what I think. It's what I think the committee thinks. And I'm just looking ahead. I'm forecasting.
That makes sense. Arizona's going to win it, right? I mean, that's the obvious answer here. I'm surprised you went with Houston. I mean, Arizona
I'm so surprised you can't build a case for the other one.
Well, in anticipation of you choosing Arizona, I built the case for Houston. And so now I've got to backtrack a bit, which is a good reminder to never let you go first. That's the lesson here. No, I mean, look, Arizona just lost their first game of the season. I'm not sure if you know that, but Houston's lost multiple times this year. What do they have, 2 losses?
They have 2 regular season losses, yes.
I mean, come on, that's twice as many as Arizona has. Yeah. Arizona plays Houston's game, only they do it better at this point in time. They out-rebound you, they defend you. They just have more pieces and more weapons to beat you with. So I think they've got more depth in their front court. I think they've got more depth in their back court, but I go back to the front court piece where they block shots, they're at the rim. So, I mean, I think Houston wants to get you into their style. They want to choke. You want to get you to the deep end of the pool and choke you out. But Arizona is perfectly comfortable playing that style. So Arizona's built to beat Houston. That's why Arizona's going to win the Big 12.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Next question. I love this question. Who is more important to the success of Kansas? So who has been this season? Melvin Council or Flory Badunga?
You got to take this one. Who is it?
It's a great question.
The answer is both, by the way.
Right. If importance equals who impacts more possessions at both ends of the floor, then the answer here is Flory Badunga. Let's get it on! I mean, he is affecting shots both by blocking shots, but also deterring shots at the rim. You know, when you go into the lane against Kansas, you know from looking at film that if he doesn't block your shot, he's going to impact your shot, and that's a huge difference maker. I mean, he cleans up on the glass. So we've talked a ton about the importance of defending and rebounding in this conference, and nobody does it better than Flory Badunga. And then he's also scoring at a hyper-efficient rate. I mean, when you look at his shot selection, his shot creation, and his shot percentage, his shooting percentage, all while playing major minutes. So I just think the overall total impact of his ability to impact games on both the offensive and defensive end, while they both are impacting both the offensive and defensive end, I think Flory does it in a much more obvious way. Plus, he's shooting like 70% from the floor. So give me Flory Badunga as the more impactful Jayhawk this season.
Yeah, it's easy to shoot 70% from the field when all of your points come on dunks. I would hope he shoots 70% from the floor. It's Melvin Council Jr., who is the second coming of Tyan Taylor, who, by the way, is going to join us during the program today. But if you don't have Melvin Council Jr., you don't have a win at NC State when he goes off for 36. You probably don't beat Arizona. He played all 40 minutes, scored 23 points. Even though he didn't shoot it particularly well, he impacts the game in other ways. He's KU's best defender. He's KU's best playmaker. He had 6 assists against Arizona, and he's had 6 or more assists in 4 of his last 5 games, including 12 against Kansas State. He's also rallied this fan base. Allen Fieldhouse is as rowdy as it's been the last 3 or 4 years, and it's because these people love Melvin Council Jr. He's logged at least 37 or more minutes in 5 straight games. Like, he never comes out of the game. He plays really good defense without getting in foul trouble. He does so many things that don't show up in the box score, which the box score still consistently looks really good.
2.8 blocks per game, dude.
The answer was both.
I like both answers.
It's a great question, by the way.
I like both answers. I slightly agree with Melvin Council a little bit more, but Flory Badunga argument is totally...
Nobody asked you, Taman.
I think Kansas could win more games. Like, if they, God forbid, lost one of them to a season-ending injury, I think they could get further without Badunga than Council. Because you don't know how much Darren Peterson's going to play. Like, if you don't have Council, you don't have a go-to guy on the perimeter.
Yeah, if you don't have Bidunga, you don't have a guy that you can funnel every drive to. I mean, he erases shots at the rim. I mean, the only major difference that I think you rightfully so pointed out is the dog mentality that this team has embraced is definitely led by Melvin Council.
Mm-hmm.
As much as Darren Peterson doesn't embody everything that he should in terms of being a Jayhawk and playing for the name on the front of the jersey, Council does. Everything that Peterson isn't, Council is.
Let's get it on! Need a little more aura farming from Peterson.
Oh, man. Love that question. Okay, this is a good one as well. Topic number 3. Who has done a better coaching job this season? Grant McCasland or TJ Otzelberger?
Jaime?
Man, that's tough. Both have been fantastic. You know, I'd probably lean McCasland. I mean, this is splitting hairs. Both have been really good because Iowa State has exceeded.
Don't add that context to make you straddle the fence. Come on.
I would say Grant McCasland because of all the injury issues. You don't have Luke Bamboye, and you don't know when you're going to get him at any point during the season, to the point where McCasland just stopped asking the medical staff when he might play. You don't have Mosley, the Villanova transfer, until the month of February. Christian Anderson misses some time. JT Toppin is going through some stuff at the foul line. There were just a lot of things working against Texas Tech that somehow, some way, he has still gotten this team in a position to be a top 4 or 5 seed in the NCAA tournament where they are going to be a problem for people. They also brought in a bunch of transfers. Like, they lose Darian Williams in the portal. They bring in Donovan Atwell from a mid-major. They bring in Lawan Watts from a mid-major, Washington State. And both guys have gotten better as the season has progressed. So I lean McCasland slightly.
Yeah, I mean, the answer here is obviously TJ Otzelberger.
Obviously.
They're the better team overall. 9th in the net. Tech is 17th in the net. Iowa State, their quadrant sheet is cleaner, 4-0 in the quad 2, whereas Tech has a loss at the quad 2 level. I also think, why not give credit for TJ for keeping this core intact, right? In an era where you have constant turnover with your rosters, TJ Otzelberger has brought back the core of a team for multiple seasons, and there's a lot to be said about the ability to do that, especially in an era where we know that Iowa State isn't flush with cash. So the fact that Milan Momcilovic is, a potential NBA talent, Joshua Jefferson too, those guys held off the NBA, held off going other places where they maybe could get more shots, have a higher profile in order for the buy-in for Iowa State. I think that's huge. I think adding Killian Torre, maybe not a guy that was huge on the radar as a European player, but has come over and has really ingratiated himself, has done a great job from a defensive perspective to really spearhead that effort. Tamin Lipsey is another guy that mentioned from a core perspective. Tamin Lipsey, though he's from Ames, has been committed to Iowa State forever.
Yeah.
And stuck with it and hasn't left and has stuck through it despite injuries and inconsistent play and everything else. Yeah, I mean, I just think the long-term core, keeping them in place, creating that culture, that embodying that culture, that environment that allows those guys to thrive and want to stay there. Very, very Matt Campbell-esque, if you will, for a long period of time. I just don't think that you can undersell the importance of that. I think the answer here is obviously TJ Otzelberger.
For the record,
Obviously.
I agree with Ari.
Did you say ingratiated?
I might have.
I like that word.
All right, guys, last topic.
Big word Bob over here. I like it.
Thank you.
Last topic. So this weekend is the NBA All-Star Game, and the All-Star Game will consist of Team USA versus Team World. Okay? So my question for you guys is, who would win in a college basketball version of Team USA versus Team World?
So ESPN.com, building men's college basketball's version of USA versus the world. Myron Metcalf from ESPN.com has the piece. Team World includes Christian Anderson, Germany, AJ DeBonsa, Jamaica, Nate Ament from Tennessee, Rwanda, Yaxel Lendenborg from Michigan from the Dominican Republic, Zuby Ejiofor, the former Kansas Jayhawk who's with St. John's from Nigeria, with Aiden Holloway from Canada as a reserve, just to name a few, Alex Condon from Florida who's Australian, Flory Bidunga is a reserve on the world team, Chad Baker Mazzara from USC is also on the world team. So is Henry Vasar, and you could probably if you wanted to, if you want to get feisty about it, you could also probably add
Tunde Yesufu.
Tunde Yesufu
Taylor.
or who's the kid from Arizona that I'm forgetting right now?
Mo Krivas.
Mo Krivas. For Team USA, starters Kingston Flemings, Darren Peterson, Caleb Wilson, Cam Boozer, Josh Jefferson, with Braden Smith, Darius Acuff, Keyshawn Hall, Wagler, Momchilovich, Haw, Toppin, LeBaron Philon, all coming off the bench.
Who's your pick?
Yeah, give me Team USA. Come on. Come on. Come on. I mean, you've got 4 of the top 5 picks in the upcoming NBA draft on Team USA. Flemings, Peterson, Caleb Wilson, Cam Boozer. Boom.
Is Peterson playing?
Yes, Peterson's playing. Come on, Taman. No, of course not. It's an exhibition. Why would he play in that? He only plays in the most meaningful games in the NBA. Peterson's only available for the biggest games on his team's schedule so long as it's just in the NBA.
Give me Team World. We're more physical on the inside with Badunga and Ejiofor and Lindenborg. Also, outside of Milan Momchilovich, who, even with that last name, would be part of Team USA because he's from Wisconsin. After him, their best three-point shooter is Peterson. Whereas Team World, much better shooters from beyond the arc with Christian Anderson and the other guards on that team.
Oh, yeah. All those other
that,
guards that are such good three-point shooters that you can name right now.
Excuse me, D. Bonsa's around 40%. Aiden Holloway's at 45%. Then just the interior strength of Badunga and Alex Condon and Ruben Chinyelu at Florida. Come on, this is a no-brainer. Give me that international flavor.
Why do you hate America so much, James? Where's your American pride? I only chose America just so I could say that, by the way.
Right, America. Right?
Just so I could say, why do you hate America so much,
Wrong.
James?
I knew it.
Why do you hate America so much, James? All right, that's Let's Get It On. It's Big 12 today, Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo. Our series breaking down the top impact transfers and newcomers into the Big 12 continues next with defensive line, defensive end. This is going to be good. That's next with James Amari. It's Big 12 today, Big 12 Radio. The top newcomers into the Big 12 along the defensive line is next. This is Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios.
I mean, it was one of my favorite games to always play because I guarantee you every single person in this building knows someone that has been affected by cancer. My grandma died of breast cancer. So to those outside shots, don't let them get anything easy around the rim.
An effective defensive possession inside to a wide open Betson, kisses it off the glass and knocks it up.
With the game of basketball, which is the other thing they love so much.
Always something to talk about, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, basketball 24/7.
Peguero knocks down the 3 for Houston, trims the deficit to 4. Off the screen, long 2, hits and a foul. Walker backs it away, sets it up. Tough pass, but Mackerlane's there. The back cut inside, and the layup is good by Dutah. Wooten to Betson, now to Gooden. Lobs it, Wooten drive, good pass down low, and Masagayo with the finish. Before the calendar flipped, Masagayo turns, spins, fade away, 2 and a foul, Masagayo.
Houston, you can't be trading buckets here, so really got to lock down defensively.
Wooten the drive, and she finishes at the rim with the right hand. Merchant catches the inbound. Peguero, a little bobble. Now she'll launch the 3. Oh, glass it in. 21 for Peguero. Peguero a heave, in and out. Hanging on to the rebound, Walker. There's the horn, and Colorado needed a win tonight. They get it.
Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. And our Modelo full-time fan off-season continues because remember, the full-time fan knows no off-season. Cheers to you, you Modelo full-time fans. And remember, we always say off-season optimism is
mandatory.
All right, so we are going position by position, breaking down the biggest impact transfers and incoming freshmen, if they can crack the top 5. And then we will get somebody on that is an expert on the position to talk through it, including today's Carrie Haidider, the former Texas Tech defensive end who played for the Lions and Cowboys as well in the National Football League. But let's take a look at one of the most important and impactful positions in all of football, the defensive line, defensive end position, James. And who are your top 5 impactful transfers or freshmen?
Yeah, so when I put together my list, I think I highlighted about 10 guys, and we're looking at the defensive line, but specifically defensive ends, so edge rushers. I don't have any defensive tackles here because we'll do that down the road. I looked at production.
Oh, you only went edge rushers.
I only went edge rushers. Did you do both?
Yes.
I should have asked. I just did defensive ends. So our lists could look quite different.
Yes.
Which is okay.
Yes.
It's very okay. No need to panic.
I'm panicking
Everything's
right now.
going to be fine.
Okay.
All right, so 4 of my 5 guys had 7 or more sacks last year. I look for guys that can put pressure on the quarterback as pass rushers. And number 5 on my list, I've got Adam Trick, who transfers to Texas Tech from Miami, Ohio. He is 6'4", 260 pounds. He was all MAC last season, had multiple multi-sack games. He should be a plug-and-play guy right away for Texas Tech. Had almost 10 sacks last year. At number 4, this is where I go up to Ames, Iowa. I've got Isaac Terrell, the transfer from Washington State who comes over with Jimmy Rogers. He was their most productive defensive player. He has the highest ceiling. He's 6'2", 247 pounds. At Washington State, he had 7 sacks last year. He forced a fumble. He had double-digit TFLs. He's a guy that's going to be a centerpiece on what will be a very different-looking defense at Iowa State. And I think he'll probably be their best defensive lineman because he's familiar with the system and has been productive at Washington State. At number 3, Kansas State. From K-State to K-State. I go with Elijah Hill, who transfers from Kennesaw State to Kansas State. He was a Conference USA standout. He's explosive off the edge. A lot of high-level programs really wanted him in the portal. He's 6'2", 230 pounds, so he's a stand-up edge rusher who just pins his ears back. He had 22 tackles, but 12 of those were for loss last season. He had 9 sacks. He was first-team All-Conference USA. High ceiling, great twitch. He'll be an impactful guy for Kansas State. At number 2, I go back to Lubbock. From San Diego State to Texas Tech, Trey White is a guy that is 6'3", 255 pounds, was dominant in the Mountain West for a really good San Diego State defense, and he's done it multiple seasons. 2 years ago, he had 13 sacks. Last year, he had 11 sacks for San Diego State. Back-to-back elite, getting to the quarterback type seasons. He also had a ton of quarterback hurries. He's just consistently in the backfield, and NFL scouts are raving about him, which is why I think Texas Tech was so intrigued by his ceiling. He's not quite like David Bailey, top 5, top 10 NFL draft pick right now, but he's going to be a guy who's all over Big 12 quarterbacks. At number 1, I've got Wendell Gregory, the transfer from Oklahoma State to Kansas State, 6'4", 260 pounds, former 5-star blue-chip prospect who originally committed to South Carolina and played a year there. He's a guy that had 39 tackles last year at Oklahoma State. He had 9.5 sacks, one of the top sack getters in the Big 12, and he didn't play every game at Oklahoma State this year. Remember, he burst onto the scene in the first half of their season opener. He had 3 sacks. Nobody in Big 12 history had done that since Alton Smith, I believe, at Missouri back in the early 2000s. He is the number 1 edge rusher according to all of the recruiting services that look at this stuff, On3, Rivals, Yahoo, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, and he's going to be K-State's best defender, I would say, collectively, fills a major void left with Austin Romaine going to Texas Tech because Gregory can play linebacker or he can play on the line of scrimmage. I've got Gregory number 1.
Love this list, although you did not understand the assignment, but that's okay. I won't hold that against you. We have one player on this list that's the same. I'm realizing also that I've probably made a mistake by not including Wendell Gregory on my list. So I'll just tell you that off the bat.
So when you say I didn't understand the assignment, what you really mean is you didn't understand the assignment. Are you projecting?
Defensive line, defensive end, James. I think it's pretty obvious.
I mean, the rundown does say names to no impact Big 12 defensive end transfers.
Huh. Who wrote that, you?
I think it had to be T-Chains. This document.
All right, well, I've gone defensive line and defensive ends. So I don't know what we're going to do on the day that we're supposed to do defensive line. But here we go. My list includes a defensive lineman, number 5, and that is Hosea Wheeler, the defensive line transfer to Baylor from Indiana. He's a physical interior piece who provided depth along an Indiana national championship defensive line that will be a major starter for Baylor. Big Ten experienced, rotational tackles, has the production as a person that had as a guy that had some tackles for loss, strong frame, early down interior presence. I mean, this is a guy that is a space eater and a run stuffing defensive tackle that I think Baylor will need in order to really stabilize their defensive front. So this is a big time early down interior defensive lineman, Hosea Wheeler, number 5 on my list from Baylor. Number 4 is a freshman. For some reason, you just are not able to include freshmen in your list, and maybe the highest rated freshman in the entire Big 12. That's LaDainian Guyton, the 5-star edge for Texas Tech, who I think is going to make an impact as a freshman. I mean, just elite edge traits, explosive, great length, athleticism, just a natural pass rusher, and a guy that, again, I think as a freshman could contribute right away. This is a guy that I think will be weekly Freshman of the Year honoree in the Big 12 this year. LaDainian Guyton is my guy at number 4. Number 3 is Anai White, the transfer for Oklahoma State. He comes in from Penn State, so another big school transfer, rotational Big Ten snaps, not big numbers, but meaningful reps. Just has the things you're looking for, the traits you're looking for in an elite edge rusher, length, twitch, high-end recruiting pedigree. It's a former 5-star for Penn State, so a lot of upside. I've done, as we've gone through these lists, mostly I've put up more stock into production over potential, but I think this list is flush with lots of potential as based on my 5, 4, and 3, 4, and 5 guys. But I think this is a guy that will be a major rotational piece and a guy that will be a major contributor for Oklahoma State next year. And then number 2 for me, I have 3 guys from Texas Tech on my list, including number 2 and number 1. And number 2 is Mateen Ibirogba. I think that's how you say it. Ibirogba, the defensive line transfer from Wake Forest. This is one of the best additions and most high-profile additions for the Big 12. Surprised he didn't make your list. But as a major factor with ACC snaps last year, I mean, this is a guy that was a big-time producer last year at Wake Forest. So he's an immediate anchor, disruptive, interior versatility, could play inside, could play outside. So I think this is a guy that has, all Big 12 first team written all over him. And then number 1's Trey White, the edge rusher for San Diego State, who transfers to Texas Tech. Just proven production. This is a guy that's going to be a major contributor from day one. When you think about how good that defensive line was for Texas Tech last year, and I mean, you've got 3 guys along their defensive line that are going to be, first, second, third round picks, and Lee Hunter, Romello White, and of course David Bailey, who's going to be a top 10 pick. There was a lot to replace for Texas Tech, and I think having 3 guys on this list for me shows just how aggressive Texas Tech was in fortifying their defensive line in this season. Trey White, Mateen Ibirogba, and LaDainian Guyton, 3 guys for Texas Tech that I think will help to replace some of that elite level production that they had last season.
Man, so you've got 3 Texas Tech guys, and you look at the entire defensive line and include the transfer.
Ibirogba.
Thank you, from Wake Forest, who's a defensive tackle, which is why I didn't have him on mine. But collectively, we have 4 different names, both on our list playing for the same team. Last I checked, most fronts are 3 or 4 guys on the line of scrimmage on any given down. So that says a lot about how Texas Tech has reloaded on their defensive line. And then I love the Wheeler pick on your list from Baylor. And then Iowa State with Terrell. And I think Kansas State quietly did a really nice job on their defensive line, at least when it comes to edge rushers. But remember, they also had everybody's finding.
Sounds like there's the flu in here.
Studio's tip-top shape.
Everybody's like coughing up a lung.
A cough button would be nice from time to time, I will say. We don't have that currently in this setup, but we will evolve. But Kansas State on the defensive line, they lost 2 key guys. Toby Osunami goes to Indiana. They lose Obiazor, who also went to Indiana. So they lose really their 2 best pass rushers. They had to hit guys in the portal. So a lot of turnover at those 2 programs, but I think they've reassembled nicely.
Yeah, and I mean, there's other guys I think we didn't mention. I mean, Thomas Johnson is an edge rusher that comes into Cincinnati from North Carolina Central who, I mean, just unbelievable production at the FCS level, and we've seen that there are guys that, have taken that step and have been able to produce at the upper levels, and I think he's a guy that will step in and immediately be productive for Cincinnati along their defensive line. Amarian Winston is a guy that transfers from Baylor to Arizona State, and this is a guy that probably didn't hit his total potential last year, but with Arizona State looking at him, that they're only looking at top end guys. Jamal Weiss from Marshall transfers to Baylor. I think Baylor, they really did not want to be in a situation like last year where they could not, do anything along their defensive line. So you hope that they've taken a step there. And then I think from a recruiting standpoint, Carter Buck is a 4-star edge going to TCU. Preston Pitts, a 4-star edge going to Utah. Caleb Walker and Isaiah Broughton are 2 4-star edges that are going to Houston. So you love what you see from both a transfer and a incoming freshman standpoint. A lot of high-level recruits stepping into this conference along one of the most important positions in all of college football.
Yeah, a couple of guys that just missed on my list. James Williams, who transfers to Oklahoma State from Florida State. He went to Park Hill South High School in the Kansas City area, is 6'6", 260 pounds. Like, he's an NFL prospect, but he started his playing career at Iowa Central Community College, super raw. Then he goes to Nebraska. Then he goes to Florida State, where he had 19 tackles, 5 quarterback hurries in 11 games. He's got a really high ceiling. Oklahoma State also adds Ethan Day, their best edge rusher from North Texas. And then I highlighted Toby Anene, who transfers from North Dakota State to Colorado.
Who?
Toby Anene. So I'm saying that last name. 6'4", 260 pounds, a defensive end that was really good on a North Dakota State team that is good every year. And then how about LeJesse Harold, who transfers to UCF from Florida State, former 4-star edge rusher. Didn't get on the field a lot at Florida State, but again, those are just a couple of guys that were really high stars out of high school that end up at Big 12 schools with the Florida State fallout the last couple of years.
All right, that's James Wesley. I'm Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. Taking a look. Names to know impact Big 12 defensive end transfers, freshmen.
Defensive guys that play on the defensive line.
That may not play in the inside.
Or outside or all over the field.
All right, on the way next, Carrie Haidider, the former Texas Tech Red Raider defensive end, of course played for the Cowboys and the Lions. He joins us next to give us his thoughts, not just on Texas Tech's defensive line and how difficult it will be to replace Romello Height, Lee Hunter, and David Bailey, but some of these guys coming in. Plus, we just talked about the position in general and guys that can play both inside and outside, and a guy like Carrie Haidider who did. All right, that's next. With James, I'm Ari. It's Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo. Cheers to you, the full-time fan, because the offseason doesn't exist to full-time fans. Cheers to you. Brought to you by Modelo. Carrie Haidider next. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios.
Has hit them hard, and we are underway inside Hope Coliseum, just the 5th ever meeting. Jordan Harrison with the steal.
And that's just a possession that Jordan Harrison has no business making that steal against Chandler Roberts at 6'2" inside, but she's in the right position at all times.
So Shaw off of the floor now, and Makalewski bangs the three, her 25th of the
Still plays the same as a traditional surface.
Yeah,
Tony?
that is going to be super neat, Amanda, the things that they'll be able to do from a design standpoint. And Crystal Eisen knocks it down of Carter McRae.
Yeah, that makes it really difficult as an offense when there's just an extra floater defender around that's going to take plays away or come in double. But Mimi Wheeler, as I mentioned.
Immediately, West Virginia inside, and the reverse is there for Mimi. Off the turnover, a re-steal. Thomas to the bucket, and that does it. An open look, scoring for Madison Parrish. The freshman from Mason, Ohio. 50-point victory over the Knights of UCF. Balanced scoring, West Virginia got it from the starters and from the reserves.
Here are the
Big
top
12 Radio,
plays
Big
from this
12
week's
today.
player of, along with James Westling on social at James Westling. I am Ari Temkin on social at Ari Sports. Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio and our continuing series breaking down the top newcomers at each position in the Big 12. Because remember, there is no off-season here on Big 12 Radio, brought to you by Modelo, because the full-time fan knows no off-season. So cheers to you full-time fans. All right, we took a look and broke down our top 5 defensive end, defensive line newcomers in the Big 12. Now we're joined by Carrie Haidider, the former Texas Tech Red Raider, former Dallas Cowboy, former Detroit Lion, to help us understand the position. Carrie, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate your time. I guess let's just start with Texas Tech. This was such a disruptive force along the defensive line last year. Now they've got 3 guys that are going to be drafted, including a top 5, top 10 pick in David Bailey, Romello Height, and Lee Hunter. How difficult will it be to replace those guys? And, they have spent some money and added a bunch of players to try to replace those guys, but how difficult will it be to replace them?
It's going to be tough. Those guys were obviously game changers, but I think the word is just reload. They're going to do their best to get comparable players, guys that can change the game, and they've done a good job finding good players and guys that fit their scheme.
Carrie, I think when we put our list together of the most impactful newcomers on the defensive line, we both looked at production, but there's a lot of guys that are kind of transferring up, if you will, like Adam Trick from Miami, Ohio to Texas Tech, Elijah Hill from Kennesaw State to Kansas State, Trey White from San Diego State to Texas Tech. So in terms of getting after the quarterback, does production travel when it comes from Group of 5 to a power conference?
I think it does. I think it's a gift. Being able to get to the quarterback, being able to put the quarterback down, I think it's a gift. I think that it travels. Just like run defense, just like sacks, everything like that. It travels. Like it's road games. You expect your rushers to show up. It's not one of those things where it's innately like part of that rusher, and if he either wins one-on-ones or he doesn't.
Yeah, well said. I mean, it feels like the best easily translatable stat that works at every level is sacks. Like if you can get after the quarterback at one level, chances are you know how to do it at the next level. Carrie, what do you notice about defensive linemen today in today's game? How is it maybe different or the same from when you played?
For me, I would say the 4-3 and kind of the heavier set guys kind of becoming obsolete. Like they want those fast twitch guys on the edge. They want guys that can turn the corner. That, Vaughn was kind of one of those first early guys like that. Right now, it seems like every DN is like kind of that Von Miller esque, like I can burn the edge 4-5 type guy.
How valuable?
That's how. Go ahead.
Well, to your point, like we think about Dom Orange, who played at Iowa State, he was massive. Dante Corleone, who played at Cincinnati, he was massive. Those are 2 guys that'll have to be replaced in the league. Like, what does it say about that position? And is there still value in having just a massive space eater up front?
No, for sure. Pushing the pocket. So, like I was talking about those fast guys on the outside. Look, you're going to make it easy for them if they're sacking the quarterback at 11 yards, 10, 11 yards. So you want those big, massive guys on the inside so they can push the pocket. If the quarterback can't step up, he has to take that extra step back. That's where you're going to get balls out. You're going to get, those strip sacks and things like that. So they're a huge part of the pass rush. I like to say those guys are more like thrashers. They're going to thrash to the inside, try to push the pocket. Then that's when you're going to see a lot of – you think it's the DN, but it's really the D tackle making that play for the DN.
Have you taken a look at any of these new guys, these newcomers for Texas Tech, and including the 5-star freshman LaDamian Guyton?
I actually seen a couple clips of the 5-star. I haven't really done that much research on everyone else, but the 5-star kid, he's obviously a game changer. He's a guy that can when he shows up, he's going to make a huge difference. So this is excited to see him play at that level.
And when you see the clips, you're looking at film, like what do your eyes go to? What are you looking at?
Just disruption, like I said, like things like that kind of carry with the kid or with anyone. Like if it pops on the tape and the guy's just being disruptive, I don't think that's something that will go away. And I always say like sacks are kind of like it's not an overrated stat, but I want to see the pressures, I want to see the TFLs, I want to see how you affected a game, the entire game, and I think he does a tremendous job doing that.
Carrie, we always enjoy thinking back to our guests and their playing days. Lige Douzable is a good friend of the program and was an NFL guy for over a decade. You spent a lot of years in the league. But think back to your college days. Who was like the nastiest, most vicious offensive lineman in the Big 12 that you would go to battle with?
Back then, man, I was gonna say early had to be Lane. Early, like it was always this hype. Like Lane Johnson. He played quarterback in JUCO. Now he's playing tackle. He's so fast. He's so athletic, and I think that's one of those battles. I played against him in the league also, but when he was at Oklahoma, I think that's one of my battles I look forward to.
Do you for guys that can play inside outside? What are the important characteristics of those kind of guys?
I think you gotta have a little weight on you for one, and a little speed. I think the speed gotta be a little deceptive. Like if you're outside and you're inside, you gotta have a little thump to you. So those guys are usually tweeners, guys that can play first, second down on third down, kind of slide inside and rush from the inside. I just like to see versatility with those guys. And like that's pretty much who you are. When I was playing, I always consider myself just a D lineman. I wouldn't say, "Oh, I'm a 3-tech" or "I'm a DN." It's like, man, the guys that can play across the board, those are guys that kind of fill out your roster. A guy that if someone goes down or a guy that needs a break, you just plug and play.
Is defensive tackle one of the most overlooked positions in terms of like those guys do so much that doesn't show up on paper when it comes to stats, tackles, sacks, TFLs? I always feel like you can't look at the stats when it comes to how productive a defensive tackle is in the middle.
You can't. You got to watch the tape. You got to look at the tape and watch how disruptive he's been, how clean are those linebackers, and where that DN is sacking the quarterback at. I think if you watch those things on tape, you can really see that, like, hey, like, no, he's pushing the pocket. Hey, these linebackers are clean because they can't come off these doubles because he's being so disruptive. Like those things are key, and a lot of times they don't get the glory, but they definitely do all the dirty work.
Yeah, what in your mind separated the Texas Tech defensive line from everybody else last year? What were they able to do so consistently that you just popped on tape for you?
I think they did a good job getting TFLs. I think they was able to like put a lot of teams in second and long, starting longs. Then when those rushers start getting at you, there's really nothing much you can do. So I think those big guys in the middle, like did a tremendous job making plays, and I think Hunter really showed himself like when he was able to go to the Senior Bowl and go to things like that where all eyes are on him, and you can really see him wreck a game and wreck practices. I think that like he was doing that all season. I was a guy that always was like this guy could be MVP of the game if he got a couple more tackles. Because my eyes just work different. They just go directly to the D line, and I kind of just and that's what I see.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that was a fun defensive line to watch.
No question.
I mean, is it just power? Is it speed? Is it hands? Is it balance? Is it all of those things?
I mean, I think you said it. It's all those things, right? It's when he busts across the line of scrimmage, he has to come to balance. He has to be able to make the play, He has to be able to redirect in the backfield to get those TFLs. And he has to win with inside hand leverage, and he has to have power to get extension, to get in the backfield. I think it's a combination of all those things.
Carrie Haidider, former NFL and Texas Tech defensive end. Carrie, thanks so much for your time, man. Appreciate it very much. Be well.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, Carrie Haidider giving us his insights into the defensive line position, defensive end position. And yeah, I mean, when we reference our lists again, we had 4 one guy the same, Trey White, on both of our lists. But beyond that, 4 different defensive linemen that we think are going to be impactful players. I had 3, including their freshman, LaDainian Guyton, who we just heard from Carrie Haidider. He is special. The dude is just a special player, maybe the highest-rated player to join the Big 12, and a kid that was sought after by all the biggest schools in the state of Texas. So along with him, Adam Trick, who's on your list, Trey White, who's on my list, and Mateen Igbiarogba, this is going to be potentially another huge year for that defensive line for Texas Tech.
Yeah, I mean, LaDainian Guyton, the 5-star, was originally a 2027 recruit, so he reclassified to 2026. So he's going to be 17 or 18 years old and on the football field for Texas Tech this year. And I think he'll be kind of a situational down guy for Texas Tech, but I mean, he's being compared to like Khalil Mack and Vic Beasley in terms of his like speed and power. He is truly an elite prospect, and it's hard to gauge where he would rank in the 2026 recruiting rankings. He was the clear-cut number 1 recruit for 2027, and Texas Tech got on him early and went after him hard. And you look at him, and he looks like he's ready to step on an NFL field today. He looks like Jadeveon Clowney, like he's just massive, a massive specimen for Texas Tech. And then also, like, Carrie Haidider was a baller at Texas Tech. He had double-digit TFLs back-to-back seasons at his defensive tackle position. That's rare, to be 6'2", 280 pounds, and he played on those Texas Tech teams that were all offense, right? He was there about the same time as Eric Ward, and those defenses gave up a lot of points, but he did his job. Like, he had 65 tackles, he had 11 TFLs, he had 5.5 sacks his senior year. He was a dude.
Yeah, and became one of the NFL as well. I mean, for the Lions and Cowboys, probably that's where he had his best seasons. All right, with James Amari, it's Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo. A reminder, the Big 12 Championship Gymnastics returns to the Maverick Center in West Valley City, Utah. Tickets for the 2026 Big 12 Gymnastics Championship presented by Allstate are now on sale. The action starts on Saturday, March 21st, featuring 2 thrilling sessions for the right to claim the Big 12 champion title. Don't miss your chance to witness championship moments. Get your tickets now at maverickcenter.com and be a part of Big 12 Gymnastics in West Valley City. More to come on Big 12 Today. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. Here are the top plays from this week's Player of the Week.
Only player in the country averaging 20 and 10. JT Toppin. Flip to Tiller.
Nice.
Lob to Bidunga, and they throw it down. Flory off the feed from Tiller.
You know, it's funny, John, when you talk to the Kansas coaches, you go back 10 years. And
Watts. Oh, he's rejected. Bidunga came in and helped out Tiller.
Because Kansas's defense has been excellent.
Tiller, lob,
nice.
Bidunga!
Yeah. Great call.
He'd been so quiet for so long. His first points of the half. And Bidunga rejects Toppin. Good basketball.
We talked a lot about him.
Yeah,
2 out of 16.
Yeah, and 0 points, 4 turnovers in that first half.
Nice job on the lob, and they'll run a lot of those alley-oops. And you see Sanders under stress that time. Jayhawks picking up the D. Another alley-oop. Bidunga. It does so.
Their ability to share the basketball. Now, I know analytically a lot of people will disagree with me, but it's like a layup for him, Tim. And you saw that jump shot right there. He had to fall away from the baseline. 6th in the country. Field goal percentage is almost 68%. And obviously those 2 are first in the league.
How about that?
6'10" with a 7'3" wingspan. They like that. He contests. He can be better defensively, but boy, can he pass the ball.
Another rejection by Bidunga.
Big 12 today, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios, along with James Westling. I am Ari Tepkin, so great to have you with us today and every day here on your home for the Big 12. Tune in the Big 12 Studios. Of course, make sure to download the TuneIn app, where on Saturday you can get the Big 12 Game of the Week, Kansas, Iowa State from Hilton Coliseum. Kansas going for their 9th straight win. Iowa State look at a rebound from a road loss. The game is Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern, 12 o'clock Central Time. And you can catch that as a part of Big 12 Radio on TuneIn, so make sure to download the app and follow along here with Big 12 Radio. This is the Big 12. This is a different league, James. And the NFL released their invitee list for the upcoming draft combine, which starts February 26th. By the way, we'll be all over coverage on the draft combine. So make sure to tune in right here throughout. February 26th is the start. We're going to have great guests, all access to the NFL draft combine. But yesterday, 319 prospects were invited to the draft combine. A reminder that that's fluid. Every year it's a different number. It's just dependent upon, what NFL teams are looking for. 43 by my count are Big 12 players that have been invited to the draft combine. And in conjunction with this, James, Dane Brugler, who for my money is the best when it comes to the draft, Dane has released his 2026 NFL draft rankings with the top 100 prospects, 16 of which are Big 12 players, including, of course, David Bailey, who Dane has 6th, Spencer Fano, who Dane has 8th, Jordan Tyson, who Dane has 12th. So 3 of the top 15 are Big 12 players. And then you go down to the next one is Caleb Lomu at 30. Mm-hmm. But what stands out to you about the draft combine invite list?
Yeah, when I look at the list, number one, what stands out to me is it's a lot of names. So the fact that only about 2/3 of these guys will get drafted over the course of the weekend, there's a lot of guys on this list that won't.
Right, and there's guys that aren't there that will get drafted.
Right, and so it further magnifies just how important the combine is and all those metrics. And then Texas Tech has, excuse me again for the 18th time today.
No.
Texas Tech has 8 players headed to the combine, and then after them it's a pretty even split with like Baylor and Cincinnati. They each have 4. Kansas has 2 or 3. Kansas State has a couple. Utah has 5. Arizona State has 4.
Texas Tech is 8. TCU has 5. Baylor has 5. Utah has 5. Arizona State 4. Arizona 3. Cincinnati 3. Houston 2. Kansas 4. Kansas State 2. I put those together for good reason. UCF 2 and Iowa State 1.
You did put those together for good reason.
Who won the game? We don't have to go back to that, but
we don't. So when I look at the list, I went to the quarterbacks right away because number one, it's at the top. Number two, there's not really like a clear-cut QB1 after Fernando Mendoza, right? You've got Carson Beck at Miami, then you've got Garrett Nussmeier at LSU, who coming into the season was supposed to be a top 10 pick and just had a disastrous year. Diego Pavia, who's only actually like 5'9", I think his official height. So I look at a guy like Sawyer Robertson, and Jalen Daniels is there from Kansas. Baron Morton is there from Texas Tech. But Sawyer Robertson has all the tools to be drafted and to be a pro and maybe a starter one day in the NFL. I look at his size at 6'4", 6'5", and that's legit. He is a giant human. His arm strength, how hard he works, does all the right things off the field. Sawyer Robertson, to me, fits the bill of somebody who's going to get a plug-and-play backup quarterback in the NFL, probably in the mid to late rounds, and I think eventually could be a starter in the league. He's the one that I highlight from that position. I'm excited to see where he lands.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point, and I wonder if of these 3 quarterbacks, if any of them get drafted, Daniels and Robertson, 2 guys I think that could. I'm also extremely intrigued by the offensive linemen and defensive linemen. Spencer Fano, we know, is going to be a top 10, top 15 pick. You got Sam Hecht, Caleb Lomu. Defensive line, Skylar Gill Howard is a name that's interesting to me. I mean, he's not on Dane Brugler's top 100 list, but David Bailey, Romello Heightley, Hunter R. Nigel Lee Kelly is another guy that is on that top 100 list, and so is Dominique Orange. So, when I think just overall about the Big 12, I think the growth of this conference and the longevity and certainly sustainability of winning national championships is about the offensive and defensive line, which I think is on the upward trajectory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to see David Bailey at number 6, and there was one mock draft I saw the other day, had him as a top 5 NFL pick. To see Spencer Fano is probably the number 1 offensive tackle taken off the board is really good for the league. And then Jordan Tyson is still expected to be wide out number 1, the Arizona State wide receiver who's 6'2", 200 pounds. He should be a top 15 pick. Brugler has him as the number 12 overall prospect. And again, there are some trends developing now because it's back-to-back drafts, the first 2 drafts without Texas and Oklahoma, in which the Big 12 has been very well represented, with Travis Hunter going in the top 3 last year, T-Mac winning Rookie of the Year and going in the top 10. Those are, and remember, Texas Tech didn't have first-round, second-round NFL draft picks last year. So to see those different schools in there is really good. And this is the second year in a row now that there's kind of some new blood with Utah and Arizona State, and now Texas Tech will have guys drafted every year in the first round. So the Big 12 is starting to gain some more ground in terms of the number of prospects expected to be first or second day picks.
All right, let's zoom out a little bit, and let's just talk big picture Big 12, because the draft is a pretty good gauge of the conference overall, right? I mean, we obviously want to look at results, and we look at bowl games, we look at how the conference did, out of conference, and then, of course, in bids in the college football playoff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I think drafts are also a pretty good gauge of health of conference. And because the NFL is looking at these guys, and while conference may have some kind of a bearing on pick, ultimately they're looking at the best players with the best measurables. And I think a lot of this in terms of how good are you not only at finding good talent, but then developing that talent. So let's look at some of these trends. I looked at the last decade of NFL drafts, okay? In 2015, the SEC had 54 draft picks. Last year, 10 years later, the SEC had 79. In 2015, 10 years ago, the Big Ten had 35. In 2025, they had 71. Okay? It's a pretty substantial uptick in just overall talent. The Big 12 had 25 in 2015. They had 31 in 2025. So not nearly as much of a substantial uptick. However, in 2015, Texas and Oklahoma were in the conference, and a good chunk of those 25 were Texas and Oklahoma. In 2025, they did not. 31 basically represent all the other schools. Mm-hmm. The Pac-12 had 39 in 2015. Obviously, the Pac-12 exists in a different plane now, and they had 1 in 2025. The ACC had 47 in 2015. They had 42 in 2025. All right, so just looking at the differences in a decade, anything stand out to you?
Well, I think it's the uptick with the SEC and the Big Ten isn't surprising because the conferences look very different now than they did 10 or 11 years ago. I would love to know the percentage of those Big 12 picks that were Kansas State, who had a run of nearly a decade with a guy drafted, Texas Tech, who's now got 4 guys in the top 60 on Brugler's big board. Cincinnati's had guys picked over the years that wouldn't count towards the Big 12's pool. Same with BYU and even Houston, who had the only Big 12 player that played significant snaps in the Super Bowl. Those guys weren't in the league. So what this will look like down the road, it's hard to evaluate because the leagues are so different now. But I think with the uptick of Texas Tech, Utah has consistently had guys drafted. Kansas State's kind of in a down window in terms of their draft picks. They were getting multiple guys drafted every year. So I think collectively there's been an uptick from those schools that aren't Texas and Oklahoma who are no longer in the league. And even those schools had one year where, Texas didn't have a single guy drafted and they were losing their mind. So I'd love to see more data on what some of those other schools look like. But we know Texas Tech probably has half their roster that could potentially be NFL draft picks because that's who they talk to, and that's a major tool that they use and lean into when they evaluate talent. They took guys last year that they maybe didn't have their eye on, but NFL scouts and general managers said, hey, this guy's going to be a really good player. We love his pedigree and his frame. He's going to be a pro. You should pick him up, and they went and they did.
Yeah, I think a few things, and I think there's some pretty good optimistic stories you can tell based on these numbers and the raw data. No, so number one, just the dramatic increase in draft picks out of the Big Ten and the SEC has a lot to do with the transfer portal. Fernando Mendoza spent the majority of his career not in the Big Ten, but he will be a Big Ten draft pick. Go up and down the line. I mean, there's a lot of guys that were meaningful players for these Big Ten and SEC schools that spent the majority of their careers not at the Big Ten and the SEC. So I think, like, when you look at, in 2015, the SEC had 54 draft picks, and in 2025, they had 79. The difference there is just what we've been talking about all year, which is, there's a lot of talent now spread across the country, but also, like, a lot of these guys are going to the SEC and the Big Ten in order to get drafted. So I think that's just what those numbers will tell you. And, I mean, the Big Ten going from 35 to 71 is dramatic. This will be the first draft, 2026, where more draft picks will come from the Big Ten for the first time since 2004. The SEC has had the most draft picks of any conference every single year since 2004.
Wow. And the Big Ten's going to have more?
Yes. The Big Ten will have more this year.
Wow.
So, I mean, and just look at Dane Brugler's top 15 list. The majority of those guys are Big Ten players. Actually, the majority of them are Ohio State players.
Yes, that's where I was headed next. This is insane. 4 of the top 10 are Ohio State.
4 of the top 10.
4 of the top 10 prospects played at one school, and they did not play in the national championship, and that was Ohio State. There's one Indiana, there's a Notre Dame and Jeremiah Love, there's a Miami and Reuben Bain, but then Texas Tech and Utah. So the Big 12 has the most spots after Ohio State of any other conference. Like, all of that Big Ten talent, at least at the very, very top, is at one place right now.
Yeah. So, like, that trend is shifting. The Big Ten, we've talked about, they've won now 3 consecutive national championships, and now the trend is going to shift in terms of just overall talent, NFL draft talent. The Pac-12 had a renaissance year in 2024. We remember that. They had a lot of good players, and that's reflected in the draft, as the Pac-12 was actually second amongst draft picks overall with 43. The Big Ten in 2024 had 42. The Pac-12 had 43. The SEC had 59. The ACC is on a major downward trajectory. In 2015, they had 47 picks. They have not gotten back to that number since then. 26, 43, 45, 28, 27, 42, 21, 32, 41, 42. So the ACC has had some high swings, but they have not been able to replace those guys quick enough, and it shows. Every year they're at the high 40s, they go into the 20s the next year. The Big 12 has shown some pretty good consistency in this new era of Big 12 football. But there was a stretch there between 2018 and 2022 where the Big 12 was averaging about 20 picks per year, and that includes, obviously, Texas and Oklahoma. That was not a good stretch of football by the Big 12, and Texas and Oklahoma are going to blame the rest of the conference for it, but they're very much as guilty as anybody else.
Right.
Since then, without Texas and Oklahoma, the Big 12, 30, 31, 31. That is a consistent level, and not in the 20s, which you thought it would have dipped in the post-Texas Oklahoma world, where they were really responsible for the majority of talent that would go to the NFL. I would say that's a pretty good story for the Big 12. The Big 12 has rebounded very nicely in the absence of Texas and Oklahoma to replace big-time level talent with other big-time level talent, and it's spread amongst the conference. BYU is producing NFL players at a high level now in the Big 12. Texas Tech is producing NFL players at a high level right now in the Big 12. Kansas State continues to do so. Kansas is now a major player in a way that they weren't for a decade. I think Oklahoma State is going to be coming on strong in that capacity. Cincinnati. So, I mean, I think you can go up and down. Arizona State. Arizona State is a huge major growth point for the Big 12 in terms of overall talent. Some of the top 20 talent out of the Big 12, according to Dane Brugler, is Arizona State players. So, that is significant, too, in terms of just telling the overall tale of the Big 12. So, I think the trajectory is up. It still isn't at the SEC and the Big Ten level, but nobody else is literally 79 players is just a ridiculous number and more so than ever before. So there's a higher concentration, obviously, of talent going to the SEC and go to the Big Ten, and yet the results don't exactly show that, interestingly enough. But the Big 12, I think, is on the trajectory up, and the ACC is on a major downturn.
Well, and remember, like the Big 12, the all of that is connected and correlated NFL talent to conference success and talent level and recruiting. And we've seen that Texas Tech and BYU can compete with those other conferences when it comes to recruiting, transfer portal classes, high school recruits now with both of them in the top 17. The Big 12 had its best year when it comes to high school recruiting rankings that they've had without Texas and Oklahoma. Collectively, you go way back since the inception of the conference, this is the best year ever. So that huge infusion at Texas Tech and BYU has paid off. And then I can't wait to see like the Big 12 SEC head-to-head, what next year looks like in the non-conference. It was better this year than it was 2 years ago. Like the SEC is losing their top 4 passers to the NFL or not drafted at all, graduation. Meanwhile, the Big 12 will return 5 of their top 8. Now, Josh Hoover at TCU's off to Indiana. Sawyer Robertson and Baron Morton will graduate. But after that, like Fafita's back, Bachmeier's back, Wegman's back, Dampier's back, Sorsby is at Texas Tech, Avery Johnson's back at Kansas State. There's a lot of meat on that bone when it comes to the quarterback position in the Big 12.
That's James Wesley. I'm Ari Tepkin, Big 12 Today. Former Kansas Jayhawk Tyan Taylor joins us next. It's Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn. Watch it on Big 12 Studios.
Here are the top plays from this week's Newcomer of the Week.
That was ridiculous from Curry there. Really feeling it. See if they go back to Saunders. It's DeBonsa, and he nails it. When they double-teamed him or they blitzed him in the pick and roll, so 2 times on 1 possession, he's seeing a lot of bodies. That's 2 straight threes, though. 12 points already tonight, despite some pesky defense.
Here are the top plays Here are the top plays from this week's Newcomer of the Week.
That was ridiculous from Curry there. Really feeling it. See if they go back to Saunders. It's DiBonsa, and he nails it. When he double-teamed him or they blitzed him in the pick and roll, so 2 times on one possession, he's seeing a lot of bodies. That's 2 straight threes, though. 12 points already tonight, despite some pesky defense from Oklahoma State.
Well, those are 2 elite names to be associated with right there. And look at the ATO. DiBonsa, remember the transition got him going early.
Sponsored by Marco's Pizza. Get your Marco's Pizza now at marcos.com. 16 points in the first half for DiBonsa. Here he comes, striding and rocking. Air AJ to tie it.
AJ DiBonsa putting his imprint on the game here in the first half for the Cougars.
DiBonsa on the floor and one. AJ DiBonsa.
Harwell the whole way. He's backing up. There's no way he can get legal, and he can't do anything about that. That was a really smart play by AJ. When you have a defender backpedaling in transit.
Saunders lost the handle. Kicked it over to DiBonsa. Ball fake, jumper.
Tune in, watched on Big 12 Studios. Our game of the week this week is Kansas, Iowa State from Hilton Coliseum, Saturday at 12 Central, 1 Eastern. And joining us right now is the former Jayhawk, Tyan Taylor, on Big 12 Radio.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Ty? How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me this morning.
Yeah, I appreciate your time. So, Melvin Council, do you see it?
My twin. Yes, I do see it. I think, obviously, just like the features, this being same height, same kind of weight-ish, body type, but just his play style, his energy, his aggressiveness. I think I'm honored to be mentioned in the same sentence as him. His story is amazing. I love his story, where he's come from, how far he's come. So he's somebody that I definitely root for. And the comparisons are really dope. I enjoy them. I don't know if Melvin knew about me prior to coming to Kansas, but he definitely does now. I'm sure he's did his YouTube or his Google of me to see how good I was. But yeah, he's a good kid. I've gotten a chance to kind of talk to him and just kind of speak to him off the court. And, he's a great person. One of the people, he's come to my son's high school basketball game just randomly to show love to the high school kids. So he's just a good dude, and I really am rooting for him.
And let me just quickly say, I'm sure he's honored to be compared to you, as opposed to you being honored to be compared to him. Obviously, Tyshawn, a All-American at Kansas, and helped to lead Kansas to a Final Four national championship appearance in 2012 for losing to Anthony Davis in Kentucky, New Orleans. But what an incredible career that you had, Tyshawn. So I'm sure he's honored to be compared to you, more so than you are to be compared to him. That's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that. Yeah, like I said, man, he's a good kid. He's playing. He's probably playing more minutes and just kind of having a different role than he even expected when he came here. So to see him kind of flourish in that position, even if it wasn't really expected or what he thought, is really dope. It's really dope to see.
Tyshawn Taylor averaged over 16 points per game and 5 assists, shot 38% from 3 his senior year at KU, and was first team All Big 12. What are those conversations like when you talk with Melvin? Because that's what stands out to us in all the comparisons. It's just he has that, like you did, refuse to lose
dog mentality.
100%. I think that's my favorite thing about him is just his attitude, his intensity. And like I said, I didn't know Melvin prior to him coming to Kansas. Like the connection kind of came when Coach Self seen him and made the comparison, and so people started to ask me about him. And the more that I watched, the more I was impressed, and the more I saw it. I saw exactly what Coach Self saw when he made the comparison and spoke on that. And most of it, I think, is just intensity. Obviously, there's some things there that are similar in our play style, but I think it's his intensity, his refuse to lose, his I'm going to make sure that, whether it's me going 6 for 25 or me hitting 9 threes in the game, whatever my team needs for me to do in that moment for us to help us win is what he's going to do. And so I appreciate that about him. And
and I think the fans do as well. Like I don't know that in my years of Kansas playing or just kind of watching, have I seen a crowd interact with a player like they do him. And I think that just kind of says a lot about his personality and who he is, even off the court.
Yeah, well said. And I'll say this, Ty, as a graduate and alum myself of KU, when you were playing, there was just this continual stretch of great players that appreciated KU and played for the love and the name on the front of the jersey. So, I don't want to say like that got lost, but I just think we were so used to it every year. I think these last 2 years of KU basketball have almost given us a greater appreciation for players like that. The Tyan Taylors, the Frank Masons, the Devontae Grahams, because we saw, there was just this continual stretch of guys like that, whereas now it's almost more unique this season because we haven't seen it the last couple of years.
Yeah, no, I think for me, watching, like, I live in town now. I live in Lawrence now, so I'm fortunate to get to see a lot of the games up close the last couple of years. And so I would say this year, the energy and the intensity and the like, it seems, I can't speak for those guys prior to the last couple of years, but it just seems like this year they're playing for the name on the front of the jersey and not as much as, individual things. They seem like they like each other as individuals and as a team, and I know Coach Self has spoken on that before, but they just seem like they enjoy being around each other. And I think that kind of shows on the court with some trust things and, the inconsistency with one of the best players and those guys kind of rallying around each other to kind of figure that out. It just seemed it's very fun to watch. I think for a couple of years there, it seemed like we weren't playing Coach Self Kansas style basketball. And I think it was just kind of navigating the portal, navigating, injuries, navigating, a different type of big than Coach Self is used to having when we had Hunter. He was so good offensively, but he wasn't a traditional Coach Self kind of big. He wasn't like a lob threat or a guy that you want to, like force feed the ball to. He was a, stretch five or whatever. So it just looked different. Even if, he had great numbers, it really just looked different. And I think this year we kind of back to what you mentioned before, just getting up and down, having those lob threats, playing defensively, getting up and guarding. If you see how Flory guarded AJ DeBanson, how they're switching five on screens and he's getting up and guarding guards, I don't think we were able to do that the past couple of years. And so it just looks a lot better and more fun to watch from a fan perspective. And just kind of knowing Coach Self personally, it just seems like this is more his style of wanting to coach.
Tyan Taylor joins us here on Big 12 today, former Kansas guard, first team All Big 12 in 2012, took Kansas to the national championship game that season. Tyan, you mentioned a couple of times there, Bill Self's style, but how would you put into words his coaching style? And living in Lawrence, I'm sure you're still close to the program. Have you seen it change over the last, 13 years since you were there?
I would say his style has changed in a sense of like his intensity and kind of just how he has to approach each player and this generation of players a little bit differently than he had to when I was around. Obviously, the nature of the game and just kind of all the things that go into the game have changed with the NIL, the transfer portals. And like you mentioned, guys like myself, guys like Frank, guys like Devontae, all of the Kansas people got to kind of see us grow into being those good players and those star players and the guys leading us to championships and whatnot. And I don't know that we'll ever actually get to see that again. I don't know if you'll see a 3 or 4 year guy get better every year, and by the time he's gone, he's an All-American or whatever. You're probably going to get a Darren Peterson type where they're 1 or 2 in the country, one and done, or you're going to get a transfer portal guy like Melvin who maybe got 1 or 2 years left and, they're coming established with, a resume of college basketball already. So it's going to look different, and I think Coach Self has done a great job of kind of navigating that. I think I was fortunate to be around a couple of my ex-teammates recently, Thomas Robinson, the Morris twins, Mario Little, a couple weekends ago during that BYU game, and we spoke about just kind of how we appreciate watching Coach Self do it from this type of vibe because we don't know that we could. Like, as coaches, we don't even know how he's handling all the changes that's within the game now. When you've done it so long, a certain way, with all of these changes happening so fast, it just kind of feels hard. And it kind of feels like when you look around the landscape of college basketball, some of the godfathers are kind of bowing out because I'm assuming it's just so much change is going on, and then it's kind of like we've had a run. But Coach Self is still fighting, and he looks good doing it.
Well said. All right, Ty, what's your take on Darren Peterson?
So I got a chance to be around DP before the season started, and I was in awe. I think I went to maybe 2 or 3 practices one weekend around late night. And in their live scrimmage portion of the practices, I may have seen him miss 2 shots, and I'm talking about defense, contested step backs, and he made every right play. He made the right pass at the right time in all of those scrimmages, and I was just like, damn, this is the first day I was like, okay, he's hot. There's a lot of people in here. Second day I was like, damn, I had to ask Coach, does he shoot like this all the time? And Coach was like, yeah, I don't know that I've seen him miss much either. Then I came back again, and me and both of the twins and Mario Little, T-Rod, we kind of jumped in their practices and stuff, and he did it again, and I was just like, because you know about the athleticism, you know about the things that you hear, but then seeing it up close is super impressive. And then just talking to the kid, you really know that he's a true hooper. He loves the game. It seems like he really wants to help Kansas, and he really wanted to be at Kansas. This is the place that he wanted to be at for whatever reason. I know he mentioned coming to play with Flory, but I think he's really enjoying just being a college kid. I also think that the position that he's in, a lot of us don't know what that feels like to be the #1 high school player or, come here with all of these expectations and things on you. So I'm sure he's navigating a lot, but the kid, obviously, we've seen with basically on one leg or whatever his injury is, he's doing what he's doing, and we don't even know for sure that he's at full strength yet. So I think for Kansas fans and for me personally, that's the fun and also scary part, is because he's been so good in spurts. It's like, damn, what if we had him 100%? Yeah. And then it's like, we probably won't. We probably will get through this year and him not be 100%, and we'll have to kind of just be like, what if we had him at 100% the whole time? Mm-hmm. But again, I think he's a great basketball player. I think he really wants to hoop. I think he loves the game. But I think he's a young kid that's navigating a whole bunch of stuff that a lot of us don't know anything about.
Mm-hmm. Tyan Taylor here on Big 12 today, and Tyshawn already shared with you that he went to Kansas. I went to Kansas State, and February 13th, 2012.
For you, bro.
Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, 2012 in Manhattan, Kansas. I'm in the crowd, and man, K-State wanted that game so bad. And Tyshawn Taylor went into Bramlage Coliseum and hung 20 on K-State. Was relentless down the stretch. Had so many huge baskets. Got to the foul line. He also held Angel Rodriguez to no points and 7 turnovers. So, do you remember that?
I'm not gonna lie. I like Angel too, but I had a vendetta out against them boys that year.
I could tell.
Yeah.
You ripped our hearts
out.
Him
and Will Spradlin was on my hit list that year.
There's got to be more to that. I'd love to hear the story because you balled out in that game.
Yeah, no, I think for me, it was the first time going into K-State as kind of the leader of the team. And I just know how important that rivalry is, and I just really wanted to win it. I respect Angel's game. I respect Will. I respected K-State as a whole. I knew how tough it was to play there, and I just was prepared. I came ready to play. I remember hitting a couple of big shots and just kind of looking in the crowd, telling them to shut the bleep up.
I remember that too.
Fun to play. Yeah, like looking in the crowd, shut the hell up, man. I'm tired of y'all. But again, I always get up for that game. I always, God damn it, dropped all my food. Excuse me. I always get up for that game. I love playing against K-State. The rivalry, obviously, we know how important it is for K-State fans and Kansas fans to compete hard in that game. I want to say as a sophomore, Jacob Pullen hung 30-something on me and stood on the table, and they stormed the court, and things like that happen, and you just kind of, it's hard to sleep. you know. And so you keep that in your mind. And then, again, like I said, it was just my first time kind of leading our team in that situation, and I wanted to make sure that I held it down for all of the guys that held it down before me.
Yeah, that 2012 season was fun because, you know, Tyshawn, you probably played on quote-unquote better overall teams, but that team got the most out of everything. I mean, to get to a Final Four with that team, especially given some of the other teams that you were on that didn't make it as far, that was a fun season going all the way to the national championship. Yeah, no, that's for sure. I think, like you said, I've said this plenty of times, it definitely wasn't the most talented team I played on, but I think it was it's a such thing as kind of having, like, too good of a team where you just got so many good players that it's hard to coach, it's hard to manage the talent and stuff. And I think that 2012 team was perfect because we knew how good T-Rod was. After a few games, I think everybody knew what they were going to get from me. And then you had guys like Elijah and Travis Rutherford and Jeff Withey who, like, really were, like, held it down for us probably more than anybody understands. Thomas is really good, for sure. I played really well. But Jeff Withey was amazing defensively for us, and Elijah was amazing for us in some of those games during conference and late in March Madness. So, and Travis Rutherford just being Mr. Reliable for us. And so, and you know what? I'm going to give a shout out to guys like Kevin Young and guys like Justin Wesley who came off the bench and gave us, you know, small minutes when T-Rob or Jeff got in foul trouble and stuff like that. I think everybody kind of knew exactly what their roles were, and we leaned into that. We played through T-Rob, and I was able to, you know, have a good senior year. So it was very, very fun to play in that game, and it was, I mean, in that season, and it was also very fun for me to, like, after, like, being on such good teams the 2 years prior to that, and, you know, playing a role, but taking it further when I was actually the leader of the team, and the team needed me to be good and needed me to play, like, be successful. It really felt good to kind of end my career like that. Yeah, it was a fun season as a Jayhawk fan, and even though you guys didn't win a title, yeah, you guys got the most out of that season. Tyshawn Taylor, absolute KU legend. Really cool to see Tyshawn reincarnated as Melvin Council. Oh, and before we let you go, you said your son's a high schooler in Lawrence? Yeah, so my son's a freshman, playing on varsity. He's averaging about 14 or 15 points right now in the season. About 6'2". He got a chance. He's not from New Jersey. He's not from the projects in New Jersey, so he doesn't have that chip on his shoulder yet. But when it comes to just skill and just natural ability, he has a bunch of those things. So we're working on creating that Black Mamba alter ego just because he doesn't come from, you know, he's a good kid. Fortunately, he's a good kid. He has a great family and good people around him, so he's a little soft. But he is a good basketball player, has a bright future and a good chance to be really good. So is he at Free State? And, no, he actually goes to Bishop Seabury, so he's playing at the 2A level. But they played a bunch of 5 and 6A schools, and he's performed just as well as I expected. He'll probably try out and play for MoCan this summer or run GMC. So we're working on that. Wow. I'm in the KC area, so hopefully he's on the circuit and, you know, getting some of that exposure. But we're working. It's still early, and we got a lot of work to do, but we put it in, and he got a chance to be really good. It's fun to watch. Yeah, what's his name? Tyan Taylor. Nice. All right, can't wait for him. Sir. Can't wait for him to don the KU jersey someday. Heck yeah, that's what we're working on. Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Tyshawn. Be well, man. Appreciate you. Take care. Yeah, no problem. Thank you, guys. Tyshawn Taylor joining us here. Tyshawn, of course, played at St. Anthony High School in New Jersey for the legendary Bobby Hurley Sr. So, yeah, I mean, he's played for some good ones. There's a very famous book written by Adrian Wojnarowski called The Miracle of St. Anthony, and Tyshawn is featured as part of the book, and as are many other players that have played, you know, for Bobby Hurley Sr. at St. Anthony, the high school in New Jersey, Jersey City, that he grew up in. He said his son's not from the projects in New Jersey, but they're trying to get that dog in him. Well,
Melvin Council is from the same area. Like the parallels are
Is he really?
Uncanny. Yes, he is a New York City, that area guard that's why he was at Wagner and St. Bonaventure and now Kansas. He is from Rochester, New York.
It's not exactly New York City.
Well, Taman has a comment.
Chains?
It's not a particularly safe area, though. My dad went to University of Rochester.
Rochester's way up there. Okay,
Yeah,
my bad. It's only 5.5 hours away.
It's upstate, but it's not a typical upstate.
That's what I'm saying. That's the angle. It's not a typical upstate city. Okay?
No, don't.
Right?
True. It's just
All
funny.
right?
You're like, he's also from New York City. He's
All
from
right.
Rochester, New York, which is nowhere
from the same state, which
Yeah,
is
it's
actually quite large.
It's like Dallas and Houston or Dallas and Brownsville.
You've never sounded more
Right.
country
Okay.
than he's from the big city, New York.
They're both from the projects. All right, I've been to Buffalo. Okay.
All right, Big 12 today, Big 12 radio. They look a lot alike. They play similarly,
Dude.
and they're both from the New York area.
Tyshawn was so good. Like he was such a fun player to watch. And I pulled up his game log during the interview. That season, he put that KU team on his back. Like he ended up averaging around 17 points per game. But his last probably 15 or 20 games of the season, which included their run to the national championship and Big 12 tournament, so like the last 8 or 9 of the regular season and then the postseason, he was hanging 20, 25 each and every night out. He just had an incredible will to win, and that's what we see from Melvin Council that Kansas fans are hoping to see from Darren Peterson because they know how far it can take him.
Yeah, and remember, I mean, Tyshawn was on that number 1 overall seed that lost in the second round to Northern Iowa, right? So he was on some very disappointing teams, and that 2012 team, as he just mentioned, like that was his team.
Mm-hmm. Well, they'd lost to VCU the year before.
Yeah,
in the
that's
Elite
right.
Eight.
That's right. They beat Richmond and then lost to VCU in San Antonio, and then and that was with the Morris twins. The Morris twins weren't on that 2012 team,
Right.
So
2011 team was better and had a better record going into the tournament, but that 2012 team was like,
And was 09-10, was that the Northern Iowa team?
That was 08-09, so there was 1 year in between, if memory serves me correctly.
I think that was
2010 lost in. No, you're right. 2010 was Northern Iowa.
They were 33-3. They went 15-1 in the Big 12. They had Sharon Collins, Xavier Henry, who was the number 1 recruiter, one of the top recruits. Yep. The Morris twins, Tyrell Reed, Brady Mornings. That team was loaded.
Yeah, and that era to me, the era that Tyshawn Taylor played, those were the best Bill Self Kansas basketball teams I've ever seen, and none of them won a national championship. They got there in 2012, but like that 3 or 4 year run, I mean, they 35-3, 33-3, 31-6, 32-7. They won 30 or more games 5 years in a row.
Yeah, and to Ty's point, Tyshawn says everybody remembers Thomas Robinson and Tyshawn Taylor from that Final Four team, but I was at that Final Four when we beat Ohio State and Jared Solinger in the Final Four and then lost in the national championship game. I remember Jeff Withey and Elijah Johnson as much as I remember those two guys. Elijah Johnson was huge. He had big-time shots, and Withey and blocking shots. And it's funny because in some ways, this team reminds me of that team.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Tyshawn, you've got Melvin, you've got Flory, you've got like kind of a combination of Tommy Robinson and Jeff Withey. So
in that team, there's
basically book it. Kansas without Darren Peterson's go to the Final Four. Just book it.
Well, that team, their starting 5 were all guys that were recruited anywhere, like in the top 100, they were anywhere from 25 to 75. They were a bunch of 4-star guys, but they didn't have that elite top 5 NBA draft pick. And outside of Darren Peterson, that is how this Kansas team is very much built.
Yeah, and remember, I think Thomas Robinson was a top 5 pick, but he probably shouldn't have been. At any rate, Big 12 today, Big 12 radio, presented by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios.
Extra.
Here are the top plays from this week's Player of the Week.
Just behind her is TK Pitts, who misses her first jumper. No look into Silva, all the way to the rack. Olivia Miles feeds it to Donovan Hunter. Gets it out to Bielefeld in the corner. Drives, kicks out with a one-handed pass to Miles, who singes the strings from the wings.
And we see that right here, Miles 3. The defense was collapsed and left her wide open, but Kiara Merchant has come.
Stepping in, Kayla King given the continuation, but again, another miss. TCU all over the glass. They have been all game. Olivia Miles doing it herself, flanking it up from the hip and somehow over the top of the rim and in. TCU really started to elongate this lead early in the second quarter and has not looked back. Miles around that high screen, dumps it off to Suarez for 2.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They're not shying away from those inside looks, making sure they're making those cuts.
Miles did it again. That is, wow, that's tough. Played all those great years at Notre Dame, now weaving through the lane.
I'd say TCU just out. Tough in CU right now on this possession.
Wow, another run-through rebound. That one's Silva on the sheer miss. Can Miles end the possession successfully? Yeah, and her coach, Mark Campbell, is right in her ear celebrating that 3. The other side shutting down Hunter. Deep ball. Miles is good from out there, too.
I was going to say, Olivia Miles just going to keep dribbling and try to create some kind of chaos. And Utah caught in the middle of it.
Miles hits the shot and hits 30 points on the day.
Big 12 radio, Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. I picture Tyan Taylor listening to some Rage Against the Machine before playing in games. Lights out Guerrilla Radio, that would be 100% Tyan Taylor's MO.
Dude, that K-State game, I remember being in the crowd just feeling helpless. Kansas State was good that year. They were 17-7 going into that game. KU had 5 losses. KU, like rankings-wise, standings-wise, wasn't that much better. Kansas State had beaten Kansas and Bramlage Coliseum the last couple of years. As Tyshawn noted, Jacob Pullen had a game where he just went nuts the year before. But Tyshawn got the last laugh. Karma, revenge is a dish best served cold.
And that 2012
he was unstoppable.
Yeah, and that 2012 KU team is a great example of how to win in the tournament, because nobody would have projected that team to be a Final Four team. And I don't remember what seed they were. They were not a 1 seed. They were probably a 3.
No, they were a 2.
A 2. And, like, they had holes and flaws, but they just their draw. I remember it was just a combination of like right players, right time, good draw. Like they were really good on the interior. Jeff Withey and Thomas Robinson, so they blocked a lot of shots. Like Withey was great at erasing shots at the rim, and then they had really good guard play. And so it's just this great example of like if you get the right draw. Who do you have their run?
Yeah, so they were the 5th overall team. So they were the number 1-2 seed in that year's tournament. And the team that made the Final Four with Udoka Azubuike and Malik Newman, that was another team that I don't think anybody saw that run coming. That team was a 2 seed.
Yeah, and then they got boat raced by Nova in the Final Four in San Antonio in front of me.
Villanova teams were just an absolute monster.
Yeah, that's one of the best college basketball teams of all time in terms of like their output. Like the idea of you live by the 3, you die by the 3 was pretty much undone by that Villanova team because they lived and did not die by the 3 in that tournament.
But to your point, talking about path and regions and guard play, which was huge for Kansas. Everybody talked about Withey on the interior and Thomas Robinson, who was their leading scorer that year. But really it was Elijah Johnson and Tyshawn Taylor in the postseason that just took over for Kansas. And KU's path, so they beat Detroit that year in the first round. Then they played 10-seed Purdue and almost got beat. They won by 3.
That was Robbie Hummel.
Yep, the Robbie Hummel game. And then they got 11-seed NC State. Also won that game by 3. It went right down to the wire. So then they're in the Elite 8 against North Carolina, and they pummeled North Carolina, just destroyed them, 80-67 to get to the Final Four.
Was that Tyler Hansborough? Was he on that? No.
That may have been.
Okay. And then they played Ohio State in the Final Four. Jared Sullinger.
2012 North Carolina college basketball team. I can tell you in 2 seconds because I'm really good at college basketball reference.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Harrison Barnes, Tyler Zeller, John Henson, Reggie Bullock.
Okay, yep.
Kendall Marshall.
So
TJ Hairston.
Henson and Harrison Barnes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That North Carolina team had 8 NBA players on it.
Wow.
KU beat them by 13 in the Elite Eight. Incredible. Just got hot at the right time and did it with their defense. All these scores are really low scoring.
Yep, that was it.
Teams in the 50s and 60s.
And I think that game, that season more than anything, showed me the importance of having rim protection and shot blocking. You know, we talked earlier about who's more important for Kansas, Melvin Council or Flory Bidunga, and I think Flory, just based on again the fact that you erase shots of the rim and then you deter drivers. Jeff Withey's presence in the lane deterred drives. People forget how good Jeff Withey was, especially that year.
Yes, he was very underrated. Yeah. And that Kentucky team was built at the rim with Anthony Davis.
But so we talked about Texas Tech getting Van Boye healthy. He had how many blocks?
He had 4 blocks.
4 blocks last night. And kind of his first extended action.
Yeah, he played 18 minutes. He had 4 blocks. I think he had 4 points. No, he had 7 points. 7 points, 4 blocks, and 2 offensive rebounds.
There's a lot of that. As much as I mentioned there's some 2012 Jayhawks in this Jayhawk, it feels like Texas Tech is more of the JT Toppin is like Thomas Robinson, and Van Boye's Withey, who's the shot blocker behind him. You've got Christian Anderson, who's the Tyan Taylor, and then you've got a Donovan Atwell that could explode in the tournament, right? They've got multiple 3-point shooters that could man, Texas Tech has kind of the blueprint for that as a Final Four team this year.
I'm telling you, I cannot wait to see their path and where they're seated. And what 1 seed they could potentially get in the Sweet 16 if they're on that 4 or 5 line, which they would probably be right now. With Mosley coming on, with Bamboye, who was all-defensive team in the A-10 last year at VCU as just a freshman. He had 75 blocks. He was second in the nation in blocks per game last year. Led all freshmen. Played in 35 games at VCU. He's been on the floor a lot. At least he was last year as a freshman. He is a huge piece that's not going to show up on paper outside of the shot blocking. He's 6'11", 220 pounds. I love this Tech team.
That's James Wesley. I'm Ari Tepkin. It's Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. On tomorrow's show, we're taking a look at our top 5 newcomers at the running back position as we continue to break down the latest and greatest on that. Because remember, the cheers to you, the full-time fan, brought to you by Modelo. There is no off-season for full-time fans. All right, that's on tomorrow's show. Thanks to Anthony Smith, our great producer with Big 12 Studios. Thanks to Tama Turner, our producer with Big 12 Radio. Thanks to James Wesley. I'm Ari Tepkin. Big 12 Today is back tomorrow, but for now we're out. Peace.